You're unmuted.
Send them that.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order if we could, Pete, please. This is for the Board of Commissioners on June 23rd, starting at 9 a.m. in the Frank Walter House Boardroom. Good. We have a roll call, please.
Not.
Here.
Markey is absent. Mathau.
Here.
Nye.
Here.
Roloff.
Here.
Sauer.
Here.
Trigg.
Here.
You'd stand for the invocation and pledge, and Rhonda?
Yes. Faithful God, we acknowledge and praise you. We thank you for your love, your grace, your mercy, and your perfect peace. We ask for guidance and wisdom during our meeting this morning. We pray for blessing and safety over our staff and our Benzie County community. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our heart be pleasing in your sight. We offer this prayer in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So you had the agenda in advance, but this time we've got a number of things we want to discuss on it. Under unfinished business, we'd like to add the Benzonia Township Hall, right? Under new business, we'd like to add Merit Network Grant. And under new business, under the discussion regarding inland lake leveling monitoring, I'd like to move that from E to A. But that's all about timing because there's some folks coming in about 10 o'clock and they need to come and go. So bear with me on that. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about on the agenda? If not, with those changes and additions, I'd look for approval.
Craig moves to approve the agenda as amended.
Len supports. If there's no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Again, you had the minutes of June 9th in advance of the meeting. Any comments or questions on that? And if there's none, I'd like to look for a motion.
I shared with Kim one spelling correction at the top of page 2 where it says commission, it should say commissioner.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve as amended.
Bob? Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Great, they pass. We'll open up the first public comment period at 9:03. Anybody like to speak? Please come up to the podium, identify yourself and where you live, please.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah, it works.
Albert. I live on the northwest shore of. I and many of my neighbors have since erosion of our shoreline over. I myself. I respect. Short term, individual responsible for the outlet can operate. So. Rather than. Short term, an anomaly needs correction to monitor, followed by the. On their website, verbiage lake level is only half high as of last night. Weather, but the actual graph 1.5 inches higher, summertime level. By earlier in May, it was 3 inches high, but the verbiage seems to measure from top of that 2-inch hill. That it's one of those, but in the middle is a dotted line, and that shows by level that you aim for. And verbiage is measured top of that window rather than dotted line. When you go on the website on your phone or wherever, the first thing you see is it's only half inch, only a half inch high, actually higher. So obviously that's winter. It falls off of monitoring with them. And last winter, obviously, like I even long term, the outlet is over 100 years old. Dam structure in its out egg reviewed by a hydrologist and reconstruction by an engineer. Channel taking outflow is so high it is like it's threatens those downstream. Dam has a things on a crank, all sorts of other, and an electric might not have expertise to operate. Dam itself should be reconstructed, monitored, and built. Long term, please consider a permanent lake at Bristol Lake and appoint members staggered to oversee the operation of that out. Hire X and recommend how to raise funds we need. Thank you for your.
Thank you. Any other public input, please? If you would state your name and address.
My name is Stuart McMahon. I'm Jeanette's neighbor at 1937 Crystal Drive. And I just, I wanted to say I support what Jeanette, requested and suggested, for the situation on Crystal Lake. We suffered extensive, damage to our shore. I don't have them here, but I can provide photographs going back to 37 years, that show how much beach we've lost over time. And this last winter was perhaps the most serious change in our lake shore that we could so far. So I just wanted to say that I support Jeanette's position and what it is that she has in mind for helping the residents of Crystal Lake.
Thank you for being here. Any other public input? If not, we'll close public input and move to elected officials. Sheriff, I understand you'd like to go first. Absolutely.
Morning, thank you, Sheriff Kyle Rosa. I brought with me my victim services unit. I'll just recognize her by first name. Linda, Deb, Sue, another Linda, Donna, and our coordinator, Rebecca Hubert. So, might ask, what is a victim services unit? To sum it up, in words, that they're a group of dedicated volunteers who provide short-term crisis intervention, emotional support, and crucial resource navigation to victims of crime and families dealing with sudden loss or trauma. So these fine volunteers get called out in the middle of the night if necessary. They come to scenes with our officers when traumatic things happen. They range from car crashes to murders, all kinds of different crimes. But this group of volunteers have been trained by the Michigan Sheriff's Association in death notifications, all kinds of different things that they're trained for, respond and deal with the families so that our officers who are on scene can do police work. Sometimes we have to, before this unit, before we had these folks, we would have to do multiple things on a scene. Having them respond and be professional as they are, our officers are able to conduct their business, their investigations very thoroughly without interruption most of the time. So they're a huge asset to us. In 2022, I started the team. There's 52 teams in Michigan. There are 3 sheriff's offices, victim services unit team. In 2022, I started a team with help from Rebecca. And there's only one person that's not here, and that's Jack. We have 8 members at this point. And I'll give you some stats real quick. In 2022, we had 2 calls. We came out for 2 calls. 2023, there were 5. 2024, that was our busiest year. There were 17 calls. And 2024 was also the crash with Charlevoix golf team. So that was a very big incident that helped. 2025, there were 12 calls. 2026, to date, there's been 4 calls. So, and at the training in April at the Michigan Sheriff's Association, Victim Services Unit Training and Conference, our team, Linda, hold that up, please. Our Victim Services team was awarded the Victim Services Unit of the Year, state of Michigan, which I'm very proud to be part of. Even though it happened in April, we couldn't assemble all of us here until today. So thank you for allowing us the time. And I think it's a huge thing.
Congratulations.
Today and always for our meetings and all the calls. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Sheriff, if
Well, that's a lot.
I could ask, first, it always impresses me, a small community like ours, and we get these kind of recognitions. You know, it's hard to be recognized when you're small.
Yeah.
So you actually have to work harder to get there.
That's
You know, I've asked you this question with your own deputies. You know, the things they're dealing with, pretty traumatic. Do we give them any type of emotional support after they've had to deal with these things?
We have debriefs, we have counselors available, actually 24/7, they can make calls, but we do debriefs after critical incidents. All the time and we involve everyone. Our SU team members, fire and EMS, everybody's, that responds to those things need the same help. So, yeah, but I think, out of 83 counties in Michigan, 52 BSU units, and here we are, bringing home the gold, so.
Yeah.
Listen, I
I'm
want
very
to
excited.
acknowledge the fact that you're innovative enough to have these kinds of services available. Good job.
Huge help.
Is there any other questions aside from this subject for the sheriff? So we've got him. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Other department heads?
I would like to actually call up someone you haven't met yet. Deborah Roy is here today, and she is on your agenda for confirmation of the Central Dispatch Director position. And she does have to buzz out before too long. So I wanted to get her up here so that you all could meet her and ask any questions you may have since this item is on your agenda later this morning.
Hi, I'm Deborah Roy. I've been dispatching in a different agency for the better part of 5 years. Prior to that, experienced emergencies up around the state. Others are current. I look forward to facilitate that.
Good. Do we have questions?
Welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how tough was your interview?
Well, it was wonderful. Everybody that I've met so far has been absolutely.
Had a good time interviewing, that was good experience.
So you need to disclose the fact that you were on it.
Yeah. It was probably the sheriff or Chief McGurr, the tough guys in the group, yeah, all right.
So because I don't like anybody to get away without at least one question, all right? Why Benzie County? What attracts you to this job?
This job in specific, I really just am looking forward to just seeing the change. I've always said that, well, that if they have a negative imagination or in law enforcement, that I always encourage them, okay, well, if you have an issue, then let's just resolution, get a change that we want better.
Very good. Anything else? All right, well, I'm sure that Katie looks forward to working with you.
I look forward to so much for your time today. I appreciate
Thank you.
Katie, any other elected officials or department heads?
No one else that I need to call up.
All right, so you had the bills in advance. Who did the APs the last couple of weeks? Len?
I did.
All right,
I don't.
Chair, if I do
Yes.
have a few questions, if I may.
that's what we're here for.
Okay, I noticed, under EMS that there, we still have, Park and Pine that we're, paying, utilities for. Are we still in both facilities? Ah,
No. I'm just finding what you are talking about here.
oh, it was the,
Oh, that-
okay, very good.
Director, it was the final bill
Thank you.
for cable. Because it was prorated, it was shut off.
Okay,
And I had to contact them. I forgot they said there would be a prorated bill. It was the lake and that's the final, that should be the final utility. All the other utilities have been connected from us and over to
to the other.
the hospital, and both of those houses down here.
Oh, okay,
Even existing.
okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments regarding bills? I'd entertain a motion.
Nye moves to approve the bills in the amount of $194,504.12.
Trigger second.
Supports. She beat you to it, Len. All right, if there's no other comments or questions, roll call, please.
Markey is absent. Matthau,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes,
Janat.
Yes. Very good. Let's pay the bills. We have a presentation today. Katie, do you want to introduce that?
Sure. So passed around just before the meeting is a blue bound booklet. This is the annual report for the fiscal year of 25 for the Area Agency on Aging of Northwest Michigan. And we do have Candy Lannon here today to go over this report and answer any questions that you may have. Yep.
I passed them all. Morning, commissioners.
Morning.
morning.
Again, my name is Candy Lannon. I'm the executive director of the Area Agency on Aging in Northwest Michigan. Are a private nonprofit organization serving 10 counties. We've been in the area for over 50 years. We are governed by a board of directors, and I want to thank Roloffs, our board. And with that, I'm going to jump into the annual report. The layout is similar to last year, so just some updated numbers, but what I do want to mention is one of the things I was thinking about this year with all the numbers, we have to give them the annual report, but really in my mind, I think about the behind the numbers and how we're serving our mission, and every day helping stay at home in their homes, get the care they need rather than going into facilities or other types of places, settings. So that's our mission is wrapped now. So I'm going to start off one. You can see our financials there. Similar as last year. Page 2, our contracted services. So we have a lot of different contracts. Most we function as a pass for federal and state funding. And so we pass those dollars along to the local providers. And in Benzie County, one of those local providers, and we work closely with Kelly over there. They do a fantastic job. So you'll see their name listed as one of our contracts. The biggest program that we have, hands down, done this way in years and years, is the nutrition program. So over 507,000 meals were provided to older adults last year. And we had about 1,000 in number of people being served too. So we're up over almost 9,000 individuals. So again, we helped provide the funding for those programs, but they are funding along with the millage dollars and other services to be able to provide those. On the next page, 3, it talked about a couple of our programs, so care management and the Medicaid My Choice waiver. So not only do we get federal and state dollars, the Older Americans Act, but we also are Medicaid health plan. And we do that through the My Choice Medicaid waiver program. So last year we were able to, you can see the numbers 72, but those are 672 older adults that were able to stay at home, get the services that they need. So for those 670 people, caregivers, it's a pretty more program. Page 4, again, lots of numbers, but you can see different services that we're able to contract for throughout the region. A variety of services, both for care management and the My Choice Medicaid waiver program. Something new on the report this year that I wanted to, as we do a study in every year, public input. We have a public hearing. And the last couple of years, transportation, housing, those are all buzzwords, access. So I started thinking about, well, what do we do as an agency to help with transportation? Not a public transit, but what do we do? And so for the My Choice Medicaid waiver program, last year we were able to spend $148,000 on non-emergent medical appointment visits, so medical appointments, specialty appointments, both in and out of this region. So that was one way we were able to provide increased access to care for those that needed it, that didn't have a way to get there. Page 5. Some additional services that we provide, information and referrals. So we have 4 social workers, again, this year that man our phone lines and they take calls around the region. Their primary role, outside of taking the calls, is referrals back and forth to local, a lot of referrals back over to Benson Courses and other providers area. Connect those in your county service. So last year there was over 7,800 contacts, phone calls, mails, office visits. We also focus on elder abuse prevention, neglect, exploitation, and work alongside a lot of advocates for different legislation like guardianship bills and so on, help adults rights. Have a housing assistant specialist, but her role is really focused on those that are on the My Choice Medicaid because you have to have a home to live in to get those services. Her sole focus is helping people that qualify for that program, your housing that's full and affordable. Then we also have a couple staff that work part-time on Medicaid applications. So for My Choice Medicaid waiver program, helping them navigate, if you can imagine, the THH, getting a Medicaid group. It's a different type of Medicaid. It's not community Medicaid like the Healthy Michigan plan. It's the big Medicaid long-term. So we have to help navigate that. They were able to help over 70 people get their application approved, and then there was close to 400 eligibility help resolve. And all of that is at no cost. We also have an ombudsman. I believe I talked about our ombudsman program last year. An ombudsman is, what the heck is an ombudsman? It is for the state of Michigan. They're certified, and Andrew is our ombudsman, and we also have Cole. Cole is rather new as of last year. We're able to get additional funding for advocacy to hire a second ombudsman. Really important for this region. We have over 3,400 licensed nursing home beds or licensed beds. With one ombudsman, you can imagine that that's quite a few around to all the a second ombudsman now. Their role is to go into facilities and work alongside the residents staff, or that the residents' rights are honored. They work with the solve issues. And they're a good connector. Those feel like maybe they don't have a voice. So the numbers in the report just reflect that one person because they started with us later in the year. So I anticipate next year the numbers are going to go up. That me, it's a number, but it's having this. One other number I'll point out is we also provide Medicare counseling. So we have part-time counselors on our staff And then we coordinate all the volunteers in the region, so there's about 20 volunteers that Medicare counseling. It's non-biased, not agents, brokers, we don't get any commission, we just look through their Medicare plans, identify if there's been any changes. Worked with before that say, oh, I want to renew as is with my Medicare, know that cover that drug any longer. And so we're able to help point those out, whether on a early. So last year, just with our staff, not all of the volunteers or other staff within the different partners that we have, we with out 400 individuals, their Medicare plans with open enrollment, with eligibility issues and all those. So it's a fantastic program at no cost. Those are the highlights of the annual report. Again, thinking of the people. I also want to recognize that I believe in your packet today, there is a request dollars, the local match. And each year we ask for that. Historically been a thing for quite some time. So I want to speak the local match for just a moment. So the funding that we ask for from each county is not supporting an area agency any. It's leveraging the federal and state dollars that return directly to the resident in the form of NOS, caregiver support, Medicare counseling, that's care management, all of those services that help stay in their homes. So for organizations like mine at the Area Agency on Aging, those contributions are really important to help satisfy the local match that we're required to have without millions of federal dollars. And so what that means for Benzie County is coming before you today is a request for the match of $4,900. And what that brought into your last year was just shy of 1.1 million and the money we were able to match it with. So it's quite the return, quite the best for it. So I respect that.
And can you touch on the award Pam Nieberdowski received just recently?
Yes, so Pam Nieberdowski is a county commissioner from Missaukee County, and there's Older Michigan Day, and there's Older Americans Month in May every year. And this year, Pam was nominated and received recognition on the Capitol Lawn Day as Older Adult of the Year for all of her advocacy. We were really, like you were saying earlier, about being a small area, you know, more rural up here, but she got the recognition wide. There was a press from Department of Health.
Just to add to that, Candy, I sit with Pam on the Community Action Agency Board, and she's a very active volunteer. Yeah. Other comments or questions?
Yeah, I had one.
Please.
So if you've ever been in the season of life where you've had to look into long-term care, you're shocked by the cost of it. How would a person know if they're eligible for the Michigan Choice Medicaid Waiver Program?
So one of the things, there's information on our website that talks about the asset limits and the financial part of qualifying. But there's a couple different parts for My Choice. One is the financial. And so all our office, we have the social workers, they can help walk through the eligibility and figure out if it's the right program for you, may qualify, and then walk the numbers, what that would look like. But addition to that, for the My Medicare, you have 5 or older, or 18 and older with a declared disability, the social. And the last part is have a couple of their needs. So you need to have really high medical. Those are the parts.
So folks in our county, they shouldn't call the Area on Aging. Should we call you or Senior Resources?
Well, for that particular program, either one will get you to the right spot, but you would call our office for the My Choice.
Okay.
And then if you qualified and you were put on the program and we started to coordinate and arrange the services, you would be working with Benzie versus.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions for Candy?
Yeah, all right, one second, please.
Please.
Do you happen to partner, like, I look at your home delivered meals. Do you partner with Meals on Wheels and other organizations like that in a lot of your programs? help kind of keep the dollars stretched a little bit?
Oh, yeah. We have we have 7 nutrition providers. One in each county, except one county does or the actually cover multiple. But we have multiple partners in every county. We have over contract service providers throughout this region. That's one of our primary roles, is to coordinate and link the network. Have a wealth of providers from. A lot of them are nonprofits, but there are some for-profits that we work with also. Because gaps and providers and direct have a rich pool of providers.
What about groups like the VA? Do you have a relationship with them at all for all the different
We do.
facilities? Okay.
We also have a program, a newer program called Veterans Directed Care, specific to veterans, and so does Disability Network. Have that. Try to do as much as we can. I always feel like there's not enough.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Any, just if I could, a couple. First, going back to that Medicare assistance program, you're talking about the prescription piece of it. Because I understand there's been some changes in the cost to seniors. Has that benefited the way you counsel people in terms of getting them helping them get their medications?
Yes. Yeah, in the past, we were able to report on some of the cost savings, and it was well over 2 million just in our region. But there were some changes at this level, so the reporting is a little bit harder to get. Don't have that number this year, but absolutely, we have a lot of testimonials about the cost things, the hardship, because somebody it's a real situation, didn't realize that their med was no longer covered, and it was several $1,000s a month. Same plan as they had the previous year, but their med was out. So there is a cost.
Okay, well, you get to deliver good and bad news at times, right?
Thank you.
And if I could direct you back to page 4, thinking about your relationship with the Benzie Senior Resources, the services that you describe, looking at that list, could you identify which ones you're working with the Senior Resources on?
Oh, gosh. But I did defer to Kelly if I need to, but yes, nutrition. Just home delivered aggregate meals,
Okay. Oh, okay, all right.
homemaking, CrossFit, personal care. Book care, and snow plowing.
Okay, very good. So you've got a pretty deep relationship with them.
Yeah.
Very good.
I do have one comment.
Please.
It's just that, I work at the library, and I see a lot of the benefits that Benzie Senior Resources and, and your agency funneling through them, give and receive. And so, you were talking about foot care. I know people who go there for the foot care, and it's a big deal. And people always are coming, and we ask them, you go into Benzie Senior Resources for lunch today? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, what are you having today? And they'll list the stuff. I'm like, do you like, oh, I love it this day. So it's a really big program, and I see how it touches people. And I really appreciate both you and Benzie Senior Resources for the work that you do.
So before you step away, Katie, we talked as if there's an action item associated with this today, but I don't see that specifically spelled out on the agenda.
I was noticing that as well. I think what happened is Tammy put in the budget request in the packet today, but that'll be part of the budgeting that we do in a couple of weeks when that request will officially be considered and approved.
Okay.
I didn't notice that Tammy put it in there, so.
So we
It was an
won't be
accident.
acting on that today, but we will when we're addressing the budget.
I snuck a peek at the packet last
Yeah,
night.
and-
Oh, it's in the
Yeah.
packet. Okay. Okay.
I just noticed that it got slipped in there as well, so it didn't need to be in there.
Okay, very good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Why don't we move to unfinished business, and Katie, if you would take the first one, please.
Absolutely. So the first item under unfinished business is continued discussion related to the general operating millage reset that's presented to the voters in August. We did include a few different items in the packet this go around. We've been including the same 9-pager that we distributed to the community for quite some time. So I included the 1-page graphic that we created, as well as the 1.5-page millage reset kind of high level overview of what's on the ballot. The blue and white one, so the 1.5-pager, that actually will be included in everyone's upcoming tax bills as they're mailed out to the community. So folks will all get a copy of that document specifically. We continue to include the longer list in there, which talks about the needs of Benzie County, and we're working to put together some more detailed numbers related to what Benzie County is going to do with any additional revenues. But then I also thought it'd be helpful to include the presentation that I did for the Board of Commissioners, the town hall residents who attended that event that we had, that really talked about the general operating millage and Headley rollback. And we went through when it was put into place in Michigan, when it was put into place in Benzie County, and looked at the breakdown, which included originally the school districts as part of the allocation of millages when that was put into place. I thought I would include that because after our panel discussion with the chamber, it's very real that the community doesn't quite understand Headley and how Proposal A played into place later on and what that means for Benzie County and all counties around Michigan and all taxing authorities. And so that's why we included some of this extra information in there as to what is Headley and then what does a county have to provide versus doesn't have to provide. Obviously, we want to provide all the services that we can to the community that the community wants, but there are certain services that are statutory services versus non-statutory services. And we've really dubbed those quality of life services to the community. I also included a timeline in there specifically just on a little like a little bar graph, which says, 1978 is when the constitutional amendment Headley was put into place in Michigan. And then 82 was when Benzie County initially put their operating rates into place. And then we went through. I was able to find that in one time, it was actually 2002. So we've said a few times early 2000s. It was 2002. There was one failed attempt to reset the millage in Benzie County. Other than that, there's been no other attempts to reset that millage in Benzie County since 1982. So I included all that information. Hopefully that'll help the community understand kind of where we're at. I also included the 2026 taxable value statistics. So these are the averages. There has been some argument around I don't want to say argument, but there's been some concern around the community that when we're talking about specifically the average taxable value of a home in Benzie County, people just can't believe that it's about $105,000 as of 2026. And so I included those breakdowns in here so that folks could see that while some townships have a much higher taxable value for their township specifically, the average across Benzie County for 2026 specifically is about $105,000 as a taxable value for the homes in Benzie County. So just more information for the community, trying to answer all the questions that we keep getting asked. And the other thing that I'll highlight is Michael Beach and I, who is here today, we published our first podcast. It is on Facebook. It's also on the Benzie County YouTube channel. So that podcast is in there, and we intend to do a follow-up video hopefully this week, and then we'll keep that going for the next few weeks. And if it's successful, maybe it's something we just keep going with Benzie County and kind of share the spotlight with other department heads and elected officials and just kind of talk about what's going on in Benzie County. There's a few other counties around Michigan that are doing something similar. Many probably have seen on social media, Grand Traverse Counties does Straight from Nate, who's their administrator. And so if it's successful and the community wants to see something like that, we'll consider keeping it going long term. But we'll get another podcast episode out soon. We encourage the community to view that podcast. It's not very long. It's about 7.5 minutes. And we need the questions. So the idea is that the next episode is answering questions that we've received from the community. And so we're hoping that questions are posed to us so that then we can answer those questions in follow-up broadcasts that we do. That's all I have.
Questions or comments for Katie?
I do have one. We received an email, I believe it was forwarded from Art, of a community member who would like to do a similar presentation in the northern area of our county, which I think is a legitimate request. And I was hoping we could perhaps have that discussion and set a date to do that. I attended the chamber town hall, and I thought it was very informational. Really appreciated the members of our county staff who represented us so well. I was wondering if maybe in the future one, we could have representation from the sheriff's department. 24-hour road patrol is one of those unmandated quality of life services that's on the list, and just hoping that maybe they could be a part of that at our next one.
If
sorry.
you don't mind, Katie recently did a presentation to the Village of Lake Ann and a presentation to Elmira Township
And community coffee more than once.
and Community Coffee. So these folks have had an opportunity to take all this in, but apparently haven't been aware of of those meetings.
Sure, okay, fair enough. But based on the request, I would like to respond to it. Even if they missed it, perhaps it was, the timing was a little further out than people's were paying attention to. But with a request like that, I think it's our duty to respond if it's being made. But you have been
Yep. So I went to the-
attending everything and every scheduled meeting that you possibly can. That goes without saying. I mean, we're all aware of that. But the forum that was presented by the chamber seemed to be in the evening, a community event. And maybe that was what made it a little bit different, is the coffee hours are in the morning and a little bit harder for some folks to get to. I'm not sure.
Right.
So for the panel that we did, that the chamber sponsored, we yesterday hopefully finalized that transcript, and we're going to get that transcript also published online so that folks can read the questions and read the answers that were given. We did record that. We didn't have the capability to like YouTube live stream it like we do with our meetings, but we did take a recording. So we are publishing that transcript for folks so they can, read those questions and answers. I'm fine to do something more if that's what the board would like to do. We are nearing close to the election. And so if we're going to do it, we need to get it scheduled now. Programming, you've received it or should receive it any minute. You have received it?
We received it and programmed all of the townships last night, so.
Yep. So ballots are going out very, very soon to the community for those who are requesting absentee ballots. So we want to think about that timing as well. You have the push of absentee at the beginning, but then you have the push right before the election for people who are going to vote in person. So whatever we do, we need to think strategically about the timing too, I think. Benzie County does have a pretty big number of absentee ballots nowadays because of No Reason AV. And so there's going to be a pretty big number of paper ballots being mailed out here in the next probably week or so to the community. So it might be a good time to do a push. And then, like I said, right before the election, we do have 9-day early voting for this election because it is a federal election. Benzonia Township, I know, is hosting many precincts for many jurisdictions. So there is that 9 days as well where people are going to be coming in and voting in person.
Hey, Katie, if I remember from the last election, nearly 40% of our voters were by mail.
Yeah, it's a big number now. Mm-hmm.
Other thoughts on that? About having an additional meeting in the Elmira area?
Otherwise, I can meet with Miss Jennings if she would like. I'm happy to do that. Typically, Hawk holds the Lake Ann Community Coffee. The next one would be July 15th, potentially, is if I'm reading his old emails correctly on the rhythm of those. It should be July 15th at Red Door, and those are at 7:30 in the morning. I'm happy to work around whatever.
So I share Rhonda's concern. We always have to address every communication we get, but I also hear what Bob's saying. We've held 3 different sessions out there.
4.
4
I've been at 2 community coffees and talked about it.
community coffees.
Yeah.
So maybe the best way to offer this is to do the one-on-one.
Okay.
They want to come in. And that way, because these ballots are going out when?
They have to be provided to the community beginning this week.
Yeah. So this is happening. This is happening
Yeah.
now.
I think the concern was that it was too far away. And so her coming here doesn't make sense, because I think that was her concern, is just the distance. And so I'll reach out to her and see if maybe she is willing to meet me at like Red Door for coffee, and do it that way. I'm fine with that.
But you bring something up that I want to stress, and I'll put him on the spot, Sheriff. You're a big part of the county's budget. It's really important that you're seen out there talking about this. Whether you realize it or not, you're a big influence. Have you been attending any of these meetings?
Couldn't make it to the Beaver, but I have been to Red Door several times. Oh,
Oh, you have? Okay, all right, thank you. So I guess we're gonna move forward with connecting with her personally.
That's fine.
All right.
I'll reach back out to her this week and offer that to her. And if she wants to invite her neighbors, I'm fine with that. I'm happy to go to Red Door or even to the park if it's a nice evening.
So you'll do something one-on-one. If it's a bigger group, that's great.
That's fine.
If it's appears to be a big enough group, but frankly, I'd ask the sheriff to join you.
Okay. I'll let you know.
I do have one question regarding the public meeting that the chamber sponsored.
Yep.
You know, you guys, I thought, really did a great job.
Thank you.
But one of the things that keeps resonating or coming up, I guess, to the top is that we talk about the rollback of Headley, but people's tax bills get bigger. They write bigger checks.
Mhm.
We need to really be able to explain that.
Michael, do you want to maybe come to the podium and explain that a little bit?
And I bring that up now in case anybody's online listening also.
Absolutely.
Michael Beach, I work in the equalization department here. I'm gonna get into this earlier, but later, but we'll talk about it now. Every year, that rollback calculation we do allows for inflation. So every year the state publishes what's called an inflation rate multiplier. And this is a figure that's determined by this based on a bundle of goods that are purchased. They study the price, how it's changed. And for example, this year was 3.1%. So everyone haven't made any changes to your property. If you're living in your home, changing taxes you should experience from last year, the next year should be a 3.1% increase. So that's why you're seeing your taxes continue to go up while we're talking about millage rates going down. Well, how Proposal A figures in is when someone transfers a piece of property, unless it's exempt from this process, taxable value is uncapped, that taxable value shoots up. And now most people assume that, hey, that's a bunch of income for local government's tax base. It's not. That's where the rollback comes into play. So as our taxable value grows, our millage rate is rolled back, but the total dollars that we bring in as local government are constrained by that rate of inflation. Hopefully that provides some clarity, and happy to.
Sure.
My only concern is, even with the the amount, the millage rollback, anybody that's got property, you're gonna see an increase.
Yes.
And even though the millage amount continues to drop, that doesn't equate to me at all. If we get 3.5% on inflation, yet the millage rate dropped back. That to me is hard for me to sell to somebody. Because you're looking at this and saying, well, if it dropped back, how come my property value didn't go down a little? That's hard for me to say.
I guess I would stress that there's two components. There's not only the taxable value, so people don't really think about that rate being adjusted. So like every time someone moves into your community, people think about that pop-up or the uncapping as that's someone else adding to the tax base. What it really is every time one of those members moves into your community, your taxes go down on the rate component a little bit. So that's the rollback coming into play. So the taxable value figure, that's going up proportionately. Aside from inflation, the millage rate itself is going down to match that. So best way to think about that is spreading around the tax burden to people who have recently moved, and that any taxable value growth we have in Benzie County above that figure that the state publishes, automatically going to reduce our millage rate.
I don't see it in the tax. That's my issue. I understand what you're saying, that the rate is going down and the inflation brought it up some. To me, it just doesn't add up.
Perhaps I could prepare something with some math and walk through it at an
Right.
later meeting. Provide some
Appreciate it.
clarity that way.
Thank you.
And that is the question we've been trying to
Yeah.
be able to put an answer together that people understand.
It's complex.
That's part of
I've also learned, Michael, that a lot of people don't understand the difference between the taxable value, the SEV, and their market values.
Correct.
They think they're being assessed on their SEVs.
Right. And probably not the best way to say it, but when I look at those SEVs and taxable values, if I was giving advice to a family member, for example, I would tell them, after you move into your home, I would almost stop caring about what my SEV said, because how it affects your finances, it really doesn't. Your taxable value, that's the number you should keep track of. Now, where people get into trouble with that is can't compare taxable values to your neighbors or anything like that. As length of ownership in Michigan, because of Proposal A, so important what your tax rate is compared to what your property is worth. That's how the Proposal A with moving into our computing, shouldering a greater percentage of that burden. That's kind of how that works. That rate of growth is capped on an individual level through the Proposal A, the uncapping, and then it's capped again at like county government level through this Headley Amendment place. So there's an interplay between.
I just had an example yesterday on Crystal Drive where someone I was talking to, they bought and completely rebuilt a piece of property in the last 3 or 4 years. Properties is probably $1.6 million, quite frankly. It's probably about what it is. And of course, they're paying bigger dollars. By the way, they're not homesteaded either, okay? Their neighbor next door, who happens to be their relative, has owned the property for like 15 years, did not do an extensive renovation, and of course, their taxes are something much, much lower. And they didn't get that because they're talking to each other, saying, well, how come you pay so much less? Well, timing and
Length of ownership, and yes, when new property, basically if you're adding new square footage onto anything, those are the times when that capping process doesn't apply at full value come onto your tax bill. And if you have people that are doing work like that, people have been in one place for a long time, drastic divergences in what tax liabilities.
Michael, the other piece of it is the average taxable value in the county.
Mhm.
A lot of people aren't buying off on it. They're saying, how can that be that we have these multi-million-dollar homes
Yeah.
and your average taxable value is 105?
Well, I would stress too, that includes property would be the better term. So any like vacant pieces of property, you have that, and it's all the things in addition to that that have been taxable values low. You might drive by a home on Lake Michigan and say that's a $2 million home, but if it's been in the family since 1994, they could have a taxable value that's a quarter or less than that true market value. So it's both of those things. That's why we developed the tax estimator. I would really stress people to use that because of the differences we have in our local millage rates. Hard to provide a great average figure because our townships will be adjusting at different levels based on what they've already been rolled back to. So we do have that tax estimator on benzierenewal.com. It has the most transparent number that I can possibly give about what this will affect for pocketbook. those changes. So if you own multiple parcels, please type in multiple parcels. That estimator, and you should have a very, very good idea of what your yearly change for both county portion and the township.
And to be clear, it's benzinrenewal.org, not .com.
Oh,
And Katie, I know that we've tried to stress this a number of times, but the township renewal,
Correct.
we've got it proposed at 121.
1.21, yeah.
Let's walk through it one more time about what the township could or could not do with that.
Correct. So every township stands to gain a different levy, increase in levy, I should say. So each has rolled back differently, as Michael has talked about, because of the way the township has developed and changed. The township each year, just like the Board of Commissioners, and later today you have in your packet, you adopt the L4029 document, which sets the levy for that specific tax cycle. The townships do not have to levy 1.21. They could levy up to that, but they do not have to levy. They can keep their levy the same as it is now if they would like to. That is up to that township board to set that annually. The maximum is the maximum. You can always go less. And as I've spoke to all of those townships, I have stressed that take what you need, not what you want. So if there are services that the township are trying to provide that they can't afford, there's an opportunity to now provide those services because they could levy additional dollars. But if that township is keeping status quo and they don't need additional dollars, they absolutely can set that levy down to what the need is, not what the want is.
And I am already aware of one township that has told their residents that they're not changing it. So
That's right.
I do have one question.
please.
Michael, I've heard the statement in the community that this effort to do a Headley reset is an uncapping of properties. Is that an accurate statement?
uncapping is that local cap that we're talking about, and go over that again. That caps how your individual taxable value can change year over year. It's the 5 that you may be. Basically says fight what the market does. We've had those periods recently after COVID where we had the hyperinflation there. But we had years where we saw 9 excess of 10% inflation, but individual tax values cannot move more than 5. So that's what the uncapping part is. It does relate to this in the sense that the millage roll fraction, so the previous year's taxable values on the top of the division line, where this year's taxable value is on the bottom. So this year's taxable value, it does, and it's oftentimes much bigger because of those uncappings, which does lead to additional rollback. But as far as it, are we uncapping the county? That doesn't really back.
Yeah.
And also to be clear, your property does not come uncapped unless there's a change in ownership through a sale transaction or something similar. So if you sell your home, that's when the taxes for the new owner come uncapped. They don't just come uncapped if you continue to own your home. That's not how that works.
Thank you.
And since 2014, just since we're talking on it, for residential property, if you're changing property between hands of close family members, that retains its cap, and there's a variety of other exemption processes.
We probably have spent sufficient time on this, but as you know, we're talking about it at every meeting.
Yep.
All right. I don't want to cut off the questions. Is there any other comments want to be made on this? Katie,
Yes.
next one, please. The allocation of funding.
Yes, so at the last study session, the Board of Commissioners heard from Denny from the Catholic Human Services Group related to a request for opioid dollars to expand the services that the Catholic Human Services is providing specifically to Benzie County. At that study session, you had a great deal of questions, but ultimately recommended it forward to this board for full approval. So in your packet, you do have the documents that were provided last time, so you could have re-went over those. But ultimately, the request was for $15,000 one-time funding to be allocated of the opioid dollars specifically to expand the services of Catholic Human Services. And the motion specifically says that there's a report demonstrating the impact of these dollars on Benzie County, which is due 1 year after allocation.
I'd entertain a motion.
Yeah, I move that the Board of Commissioners authorizes funding to Catholic Human Services to expand services to Benzie County with $15,000 to be allocated with funds available in the opioid settlement fund, and that a report demonstrating the impact of these dollars be provided within 1 year of allocation.
Great, that's Len. Do I have a support?
9 seconds.
Thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, please.
So I wasn't here at that meeting, so
Okay.
just a couple of questions. Again, I didn't watch the meeting, but so this is a one-time deal to expand the funding. Did they address how we're going to give this the one time? How will that continue later?
Katie, are you able to answer that?
Meaning like how they could ask for additional dollars or
Well,
like
if
the
it was-
long-term impact of the programming?
If I was just if this is a one-time ask,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean they have a way to continue with the
Expanded services?
expanded services?
No. So the funding that they're asking for is to specifically expand the services, offer additional services and sessions. They would need additional money to continue doing that after this money would run out.
Okay.
Which they would have the opportunity to come back to you. Perhaps things change at Catholic Human Services and they're able to absorb it into their budget. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know from
Nope.
their standpoint.
Just
And for the purposes of this grant, it fills a gap for when the residents leave or they go back into the community, and that's really the time when a lot of people in recovery fail.
Mhm.
And it extends these wraparound services, so they have a more time to work with people who will keep them, helping them to make good decisions. So
Okay.
it was a very good presentation.
And it talked about that it's from Traverse City, but we do have an office here in Benzie County. And so these dollars will go to Benzie County specifically.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Those were my questions.
So we do have a motion with support. Is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Matthau,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Janat.
Yes.
Markey's absent.
All right, so I'd like to tee up the next, there's nothing else under unfinished business, right?
No, sir.
Oh, wait, there is. Benzonia Township Hall.
Oh, yeah, it's not on my list. So all of you received the Phase 2 environmental study that was done by Otwell Mobby related to the Benzonia Township Hall, the old Benzonia Township Hall. In that document, it does indicate that there are drains within the floor that would need to be sealed or capped to ensure that vapors are not coming up into the air. So you have to block those. We have looked at that specifically. We've spoke with the staff of EMS, the health department, and so forth. There's no issue with sealing or capping those drains. There are ample other ways for the trucks to be washed within Benzie County between our current stations and a public washing facility. And really that would have been the need for that. We don't do our own oil changes or anything like that anyways on site. So the only use of the drains would have been for if we were washing a vehicle. But there are ample other ways of doing that around the community. So the staff and myself, we're not seeing that as a barrier and, you know, to not buy this piece of property. But I wanted to bring that forward to the Board of Commissioners to hear your thoughts on that, to make sure you're in agreement with that. If you are in agreement with continuing to purchase that piece of property, we'll get closing scheduled rather quickly. The Phase 2 does require additional due care plan and BEA reports be done. Those can be done simultaneously with closing. There's a 45-day window to submit those reports to Eagle. And it's not saying we have to do additional items outside of capping or plugging those drains specifically, but it puts the documents in place so that we're protected as Benzie County. So if down the road if there were things to be done to the property as far as excavation, remediation, those sorts of things. This is really setting that bar for Benzie County so that we know here's where we started and maybe here's where we're at. But anything below here becomes non-liability of Benzie County. It goes back to the original owners or previous owners of the property. So we're really setting that baseline of any potential liability Benzie County could have in the future. So is there any questions, or Tom can also speak?
So just go ahead, Gary, please.
I know across the street used to be a gas station, so if there is an issue of something coming across, we're covered. And
Well,
Can
it's,
I
if it's
can I
already-
address that?
go ahead.
Because I do have some experience in this. Gary, it's identified that that has potential contamination.
Mm-hmm.
What we're required to do to stay fully compliant is to identify where the condition of the property is now and not perpetuate that problem. So the fact that there was a gas station next door or across the street, it's acknowledged. The only thing that we have to do to stay in compliant is fill the drains. Now, you could fill the drains, cap the drains. Bottom line is you can't flush water down the drains because it could potentially stimulate any contaminants in the
And move
soil
it, and
in the-
move it
and move it.
to like
So if
water.
not a concern about what used to be across the street or what used to even be there.
And who's gonna pay the cost of camp?
Well, that.
We would.
Benzie
yeah.
County would, EMS budget.
So Tom, I've asked Tom to do a couple, if you would talk about the cost and also the additional cost of operation by not being able to use those drains.
So, we don't want to add to a problem around. So, most ethical aspect, cap those drains, that's simply up whatever the state requires. That's gonna be a nominal expense. Stopping ability to flush water down into that drain, into those floor drain. My understanding, they don't really know where those floor drains go, because they don't necessarily go. There is a drain field and septic tank for bathroom services. But those drains in the garage, it doesn't appear that they connect to that. So stopping them, which means we just won't wash trucks there. We have 2 other stations we can wash trucks, negates any cost. Technically could negate any additional cost, because they could go to Paul Oliver, leave, truck needs to be washed, go to that station, wash the truck, up, ready for service. Go to Munson, they can stop at that station or out in Honor, and they can clean their truck up and wash it if it needs to be washed, back in service. Kind of a non-issue. Same time, I've already been down to the car wash at Zonia, and we can go down there and through their annual, not the automatic wash, but the one where you use the wands and wash your own vehicle, runs off an app. So I can set up an app on the truck laptop. They can just scan it and I can have it preloaded, and they can then wash the truck there. And so that's 3 options of not having to wash the vehicle there. Now, down the road, I would see in the future, at some time, Benzonia having a sewer system. That would be a grand resolution, because
I don't know how
everything
long
would be
it'll be around
connected to
here.
their sewer. But
you
who
might.
knows when that may happen, but someday it will.
Okay, the other question I had was the septic system checked out by the health department?
Yes.
Rhonda, do you have anything you want to add to this? You and I have had lots of conversations. so-
Lots of conversations. Yeah, I just with that idea in mind that there could be a municipal sewer system at some point, we should probably veer towards capping rather than
Yeah.
cementing.
Yeah, well, sure, I agree.
Yep.
And I don't know that whole process, so what that process is.
It'd be pretty nominal. You put a
Yeah.
cap on there, you seal the cap, you're done. The idea is so nothing else can flush down there. We wanted to bring this before the board today just because there were these conditions that were put into the phase 2. We've had a lot of conversations. We've sought a lot of professional input on this. I feel comfortable in recommending that we go ahead and move forward to the close. But I didn't want to make that decision unilaterally, so I'd at least at a minimum want consensus that we can go ahead and close on this property.
As long as our liability is covered, I feel confident.
Gary, the
Yeah.
the goal was, and we asked this is the way we framed everything up is, I don't want any commissioners 10, 20, 30 years from now to say, what the heck did they do? You know, so that was our thought the whole time.
We have done our due diligence to create a baseline.
Mhm.
So if I could, and I know we don't have anything written in front of you, but I would like it to be on the record that this was discussed with the group and we approved to move it forward. Would anybody like to try to craft a quick?
Like something, you know, me just to blow something out there. I move that we move forward with the purchase of the of Benzonia Township Hall with the stipulation that we cap the drains.
That's perfect. Can I get support for that?
Yeah, Matthew seconds.
Very good. Is there any other questions, comments on this? Let's-
Just a comment if I may.
Sure.
They had an environmentalist, right? Also, they were the ones who said that these are the recommendations, right? And the idea is that you cap it so that you don't flush more and you don't move this to some other vicinity or so it doesn't go into the watershed, right? And so by capping this, we're keeping everything where it is.
That's
And
the
so it's
idea.
not moving.
Right. That's the idea.
That's all true. And yes, we did enlist professionals on this. We didn't do this on our own.
Well, Mobby took care of both phase 1 and phase 2.
In fact, they'll take care of the capping.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll take care of the BEA and do care plans for us as well. Statutorily, they have 45 days to do those and file those plans. So that's kind of the process for their part going forward. It's about 45 days.
This will all be done before we finalize the purchase agreement, right, or pay for.
You can
No.
do it simultaneously.
So we have 45 days to be in compliance. Well, Mobby knows that, and it'll be their responsibility to keep us compliant. So no, we probably will close before we even perform that, but depending on how quickly we can get in there, that may happen first. I don't know.
Right.
Probably extreme, but let's do a roll call on this.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey is absent, Matthew,
Yes.
Nye.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So we can go ahead and schedule closings, all right?
Thank you.
Very good. All right, so the next, we're moving into new business.
I believe the
The first item
is Inland Lake.
is, right,
Monitoring.
it's Inland Lake. Now I'll tee this one up for us. This primarily has to do with the water levels, lake levels in Crystal Lake, but it also affects Flat Lake. This responsibility, the lake levels fall to the responsibility of the drain commissioner. I have been getting a number of phone calls regarding primarily the lake level at Crystal Lake and the damage that it could or is occurring along the lake. A little bit of history, because now I know more about this than I ever thought I would. The lake level monitoring originally goes back 100 years, and it was the road commission that monitored it. In the late 1990s, at some point, because our population became greater than 12,000, this is by statute, that we had to create the position of a drain commissioner. The only task the drain commissioner would have had was monitoring the lake levels. Because we don't have, what do you call that, a drain?
We don't have a drainage district.
We don't have a district. So we found documentation that took it from the road commission to the drain commissioner. Let me back up just for a moment. In the 1980s, there was a court order that established for the road commission what the lake levels had to be. So now the drain commissioner is responsible for monitoring the lake levels. This year, with those lake levels being so high, it's caused a lot of concern for property owners due to loss of frontage, which will happen on any lake. But also things like wells now are going underwater. We have an example of a holding tank that is now on the water's edge when before it was 25 feet from it. Seawalls that are being damaged. We have some folks that aren't able to put docks and hoists in because of the water levels. And it seems to stem from moving the positioning of the boards that let the water flow in and out of Crystal Lake. With that said, I contacted John Ransom of the Conservation District, and Craig Dixon, who actually performs that task. And also, I've worked to talk with Mike Fiebing. I was hoping he might be able to be here today. In fairness to him, all of these things are just coming together fairly quickly. But I know that John and Craig are here today. And what I've asked them to do is, with John, I know that he's been on site. He has no responsibilities for monitoring this, but may be able to give us some insight to where it's currently at and his thoughts on it. John, would you mind coming up, please? And I appreciate the fact you're taking time to be here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is an important issue, so.
So you've had some residents contact you. I understand you've been to the site.
Yeah, and so over the last 3 or 4 years, part of my responsibilities at the district, I've been we partner with the Watershed Association. So I'm the lake biologist, so big responsibility of that is just doing site visits, folks around the lake that are just wanting my attention for whatever reason. Usually it's invasive species or shoreline management, but the last couple of years, soil, or shoreline erosion has been the number one issue that people are contacting me about. The lake levels have really fluctuated. Looking at the long term, so we have a lake level gauge at the outlet that's been in place since I think 2014, and over the last 2 years, I think since about like 2024, the lake has both reached its highest and lowest point since we've been monitoring with that gauge. So I don't know what the previous, high and low has been. But that's an issue, having extreme lows and extreme highs are both not really ideal for the lake, and having that big fluctuation causes a lot more erosion problems and problems for folks. So, that's like the number one thing I've been hearing about on Crystal Lake. The system we have in place, in my opinion, it's a bit underfunded, it's a bit antiquated. It's one person says, hey, it's looking a little low, go raise board, lower board. We have court ordered, levels, but we don't really have a professional hydrologist that's managing those. You really have to stay kind of ahead of what the weather and what the lake levels are going to do. You can't really be reactionary because, if you release all the water in a time that's leading into a drought, then it's going to suddenly be, record low versus, if you're not prepared to release water before a spring, rain and runoff, then you're going to have these record highs. And that's where we are right now. And looking at the graph, the last couple of years have been the most extreme. So, whether that's just how things have been managed the last couple of years, whether it's weather, it's both things probably combined, but I think that it's time for some sort of update of the technology and just how we manage the level on Crystal Lake. I want to say too, the other potential concerns and things that have been discussed over the years, there's also the outlet creek. The DNR has said, we would like there to always be some flow. So this like management of, and it's hard to necessarily do that, but there's fish and things that live in that outlet creek, and then in the end of the summer it's totally dry and they either have to get to the Betsy or they dry up with the creek. So the DNR would like to have some flow. The other issue is that if there's too much flow and things can swim over that dam, like sea lamprey, I've contacted a bunch of people about my concern with sea lamprey potentially getting into Crystal Lake, because have so much water going over the dam that it's not really a lamprey barrier anymore. Obviously, this spring was really extreme in a lot of parts of the state, so lamprey control is concerned about a lot of different dams, and they're busy with that. But you know, that's just a couple other concerns for that point that it should consider as well.
So, and I want to open it up to the group, but John, the other day when you and I were speaking, I asked you the question. I said, is this a man-made problem? Is this Mother Nature, a combination of both? Where are we at on this?
In my opinion, it's a combination of both. You know, we have had some extreme kind of weather, but I think the way we manage it is a little bit, we don't anticipate things. We're not really, I don't think anyone's really doing the calculations of, you know, if the boards are open for this long, you know, how long is it going to take? What's our weather look like? You know, I think there's really a lot more that we can do to manage that. And
So just in the last 24 hours, I sent the commissioners some pictures that were provided to me. Some of it didn't go through as a video and it was too large of a file, but I'm going to ask Craig to come up, but if you would, John, stay there. I know that a number of you have not had the conversations that I've had, so you're at a bit of a disadvantage. But I hope that framing this up for you, you understand that we've got property owners that are concerned. And they're wanting to know, who do I turn to? There is a general belief that it's the Board of Commissioners that has this responsibility. And it really belongs to the drain commissioner. It doesn't belong to us. And to complicate it, if you look at the documents, not only does it not belong to us, but we have very limited influence on any of this. So what we're going to be talking about today is, where do we go from here in terms of solutions? But I'm going to hold off on that. Was there questions for John while he was up there?
Just had. Just boat traffic and the wakes that those boats cause, is that adding to this problem too?
you know, there's potential that wake boating and stuff, you know, that's a big statewide issue right now. A lot of lakes are very concerned with it. I would say it makes things potentially worse, but Crystal Lake is already just such a high energy, I call it a high energy lake. There's so much wave action, you know, depending on where the wind blows, that I think wake boats add a little to it, but I think the lake level fluctuation is a much bigger issue than wake or boat action.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John? He's going to stay here for a minute. So Craig, let me first, Craig Dixon is very familiar with the monitoring of the lakes. You do both Platte and Crystal. You have done that for many years. I need to frame this up for you for Craig's benefit. Craig doesn't make any decisions. He makes recommendations, or he's either instructed to go out and lift boards up or down, but that's the extent of the empowerment that he has. But what I've asked him to talk to us about today is, because you're hands-on with it, where do you see it? Is there ever been times that maybe we just reacted too slowly and we caused some of our own problems, etc.?
Don't fool Mother Nature, and that's what I always like to say. We get a lot of rain. It takes 3 or 4 or 5 days for all that water to come out of the Lake Ann or Thompsonville. And us, we're on top of it, measuring it every day. Then got my boss turns it in. I call him. Either way up, could be way down. If it gets way down, then people aren't happy. I was not happy when it's too high. So it just all has a trickle down effect. That weather, a lot of rain. Spring, I was called and asked to go over and dig a ditch, water to the drop off over at Crystal was in March. And that was because the water was way back. Last fall it dried up quite a bit. But last summer, all summer, we never pulled one board up. Summer on Crystal. Because it was a dry summer. Just depends on what Mother Nature does, how fast the water had. the lake. But all we can do is just keep pulling boards, put boards back.
So Greg, some questions if I could. And you and I have had these conversations, so hopefully I'm not catching you cold with them, but you know, the lake owners have one need, and then you got the people on the river that have another need. If I'm a property owner on the lake, I'm thinking, well, why don't you pull up all the boards and let the water go? There's consequences to that.
Yes, sir.
Can you describe those, please?
On 115, only let so much water out of Crystal Lake because of the tube under one. Only so big and it'll only take water. So we gotta limit that. Sometime we opened them all the way up. It was up over the tube, so we had to drop the boards half down. Keep that getting washed out. Road. Like I said, it just depends on fast we get the foot, how fast we get. Their nature when stops a lot of rain.
So there's some feelings that, okay, as you're going through the river, most of that is just wetland anyway. And, should it be able to take it? It's more complicated than that, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you got tubes, like I said, under 150. Wipe out 150 tube and that road's gonna be shut down for a while. For the fact, Crystal, headstream's not so much that pull the boards up, all the water out there. Most of the people over on Sac pull a board because their basement are filling up water and all us. Pulling boards on flat.
Yeah, I have not had one call about Platt.
Jim Dodge usually calls me.
Well, and we're going to come back to that in just a minute, all right? But it's been suggested to me that we need to do some dredging at that outlet.
That water comes out of there pretty fast. I don't think there's anything you can dredge out of it. Water's already worked out. All the boards are wide open down below. Only thing that dredge down up the creek towards a little flat. Find a dredge. Did have a big chunk of sod come down through there the last rainstorm and stuck on the outlet, so we had to pull it off. It floated down the river. One guy said, "For the boutique car, nobody can get to it."
And I understand that it was just described that maybe the mechanics of how of that outlet, the board's been around a long time, probably needs some replacement, I understand.
Said he's got new ones ordered.
So we're in the process of doing that. All right. But when I think of today's technology, maybe there's even a better way to manage it than there is.
But we've come a long ways. Before we used to pull them all up, walk them out of there. Now we come a long ways where we were.
So you were describing this on Platt Lake. You have someone that calls you and you respond, and apparently that is something that you've been given authority to do.
Well, they couldn't get a hold of Mike. Called my old boss had called me. Well, I usually don't do anything without my boss's permission, but because their basements are all flooded over there, I just had pulled boards. That might paper. I couldn't get a hold of me.
So you're able to act more quickly
Right.
on Platt Lake because of that. Okay. So the communication piece of it is part of the breakdown. Right. Anything that else you can add that I haven't asked you already?
Unless anybody else has got questions.
I do. Who's gonna follow you, Craig?
I don't know.
I mean, there comes a point in time to where you're not gonna be doing this anymore.
I got a couple of recommendations. Wayne Schendel helps me pull the boards from time to time. He's over that way.
I mean, at some point in time, we're gonna need to replace Craig. And down the road, I mean, unless somebody invents something that can judge and and do it on its own, that's one thing, but it needs to be somebody that can be hands-on and has half the background that Craig has.
And we need to be very clear, we do not replace Craig. This is the drain commissioner that makes that decision.
The job will need to be replaced if Craig quits doing it.
Agreed. I just want to, for the public's benefit, know that we really are very hands-off on this. In fact, in the 10 years I've served, it's really just been since last fall that I've ever had any calls on this at all, so.
Well, this spring, we had a lot of snow and we had a lot of rain, so the water. Yep. Sprayed, I had full boards. Lost. They're quite a ways of water. Depends on which way the wind's blowing, quite a way back.
So we're going to come back to that comment in just a minute, but what I'd like to also do is, Troy is here. We've had a conversation with him because it looked like initially, again, Rhonda and Katie and I have had a lot of conversation on this. And we thought, okay, looks like the road commission has something to say about this. Can you share with us what you found out? And Craig, we may need you back here, so.
Stand right here.
Roy Hines, Benson County Road Commission. I touched on it earlier. Once 12,000 number, Drains Commission went county. Section of.
So even though the relationship at first was with the road commission and the drain commissioner, that doesn't give you any authority to take that back.
According to our attorney.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure everybody heard that. Thanks, Troy. So the purpose of all of this lead up is that we've been in contact with our attorney because the community doesn't want to hear, not my job. So we're looking for solutions, and the attorney said, well, you could reassign this activity, but you know, there's the general feeling is do we want to pile any more on our administrator? Where does this really belong? We have a resolution that's in there that's just a draft that would, and it has to be with the concurrence of the drain commissioner. We cannot do this unilaterally, but it could be reassigned.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm going to suggest is, and I've not been able to talk directly with Mike, unfortunately, but, you know, either what is it that you need from the county to do this correctly? Or should we reassign it? As an example, I'll just give you an example. Craig right now works at the direction of the drain commissioner. We could, with Mike's agreement, we could assign the task directly to him and you make the decisions on when it has to go up and down. I mean, you can be there in 2 hours notice, you've told me. And that way we have somebody looking at it all the time. That's a short-term solution, all right? You would still be accountable to Mike, but instead of asking his permission, you would just do it and then report back to him what you've done. Now, this is going to sound a little destructive, but I'm just going to put it out there. This is the only job our drain commissioner has. That and they sit on the Parks and Rec board. But so that's a short-term solution, looking for a short-term fix. Although for those of you in Crystal Lake, this isn't, you know, something that happens overnight. You already heard the complications of pulling up too many boards. And then I think there needs to be a long-term solution. And what does that look like? Quite frankly, John, some of the things you shared with us, we need some professionals looking at this. We probably need to form some kind of ad hoc committee of people that know what they're doing. And I don't think anybody sitting at this table really understands that. Rhonda, you look like you want to say something.
Well, we have a Parks and Rec committee that the drain commissioner is required to sit on. And he does attend those meetings, is my understanding.
Not all of them.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's frustrating that this position, which is required to be elected, doesn't come along with a caveat that you need to be qualified to do the job, but that goes with all elected positions, right? So to separate the duties, so we can be assured that somebody with experience is making a preemptive call instead of a reactive call seems paramount. Is the Parks and Rec Committee, which is established, the place to start for a solution? I asked the question. I don't know. Do we task them with making a recommendation?
Don't see the expertise on the Parks and Rec Commission to do that. I
Exactly.
really.
I don't even know if they've ever talked about
I don't-
this outside
yeah,
of
I think
redoing
that's
that part.
Beyond what they could actually,
Yeah.
I like John's idea.
Well, I've laid it out there for you. I think at a minimum, we can't leave the community hanging. They need some action. And what I'd like, if we do nothing else, is I'd like your permission to be able to work with the drain commissioner to try to come to some solution. Whether it be reassigning it, providing him the education he needs. It could be that he doesn't have the time. I have no idea, what the obstacle is. Craig has been more than generous with me and trying to help me understand the situation. But what is clear to me is you're more than willing to do it, but you got to have the green light.
Mike's my boss, so. I am. Thing I do, when I pull a board, I let him know that I'll board of class, so he's aware of it. I do stay in touch with him, because I can just leave a recording on his.
So the short-term solution would be to find a more expedient way to manage this. But I really think that we need to look for a longer-term solution on how do we manage it? What kind of engineering, if any, has to be done there in at Platte Lake? I mean, the irony is that the county doesn't own the water. We don't own the rivers. We don't own the lake. So it's not like we can do this unilaterally either. But, and I know that Mother Nature just takes her course. I lived on the lake for 20 years. I lost frontage one year, another year I got beach. So that's just the way it happens. But we may have caused some of our own problems here too. And so we need to address that. So what I'm looking for from this group is permission to work with Mike to establish someone that can respond more quickly. My recommendation on a short-term solution is if you had a chance to read that resolution, we could, with Mike's agreement, assign it to Craig. Craig makes those decisions and then just reports to Mike, not this board, but reports to Mike. And then we would work on a longer-term solution later.
And to be clear, this is a stipulation order changing the county's delegated authority in the court. So this is not a resolution that stops with you. You approve this and you'll sign it. Mike does have to agree and also sign, but then it has to be signed off by Judge Thompson before it's in effect.
So is the road commission in line with any of this? It doesn't sound like it to me. Yeah.
In line as far as.
At some point in time, I believe the road commission needs to be made aware of what's going on.
It's our baby now.
It's the drain commission.
We do have some damage on, I've had to involve with some short that has washed out in the spring. But we do have some work.
It's costing the county money too.
So Bob, if I'm understanding your question correctly, is it better to reassign it back to the road commission? Now, again, they would have to agree to that.
Well, sure.
But
No. I'm not.
based on the information we're receiving, it can be reassigned to anybody. Right. And I don't know where the best fit is, but I know that we need to walk out of here with some kind of idea of that short-term solution.
if I may, my concern with the road commission, you know, you've got a lot of other things on your plate. You know, do you have the expertise and do you have the time? Yeah, exactly.
No, we're not hydrologists. We have to study like that. We hire firm to do those types of studies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we have the same situation with administration. They don't have the expertise, and we've got them loaded up pretty good also.
I do like the idea of some sort of board. But again, we'd have to stack it with people who know what to do, who maybe have some expertise. Yeah, that's tough.
That's not within my network, but Jen and I have talked briefly about it. He's willing to put some time in. But again, that's a longer term solution that we're
Yeah.
looking for from somebody with the expertise. If I had my druthers for short-term solution, as I'd like to keep this with the drain commissioner, empowering Craig to do what he has to do, and then work with Craig on, Craig, we need to put together a long-term solution. Or I'm sorry, not Craig, Mike, put together a long-term solution.
Stipulation change order is not in our packet, right? It's what we received by email.
Only you and Art received it via legal counsel. It has not been
Oh.
sent to the entire board.
Yeah, thanks for reminding.
Do you want me to read it? Or do you want to read it? Does it matter?
Why can't she read it?
I can. Sure, Rhonda, go ahead and read it.
Katie can read it.
It's not attorney-client privilege, no. All right, hold on. So it says State of Michigan in the Circuit Court for the County of Benzie. So it is a court document at the top. Stipulated order changing the county's delegated authority at a session of this court held in the Village of Beulah, Benzie County, Michigan, and we'd fill in the date. Present Honorable David A. Thompson, Circuit Judge. Whereas this court's December 1, 1980 order referenced the County Road Commission as Benzie County's delegated authority for purposes of maintaining the normal lake level for Crystal Lake pursuant to Part 307 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act, MCL 324-30701. And whereas the drain commissioner for County of Benzie was substituted for the Benzie County Road Commission as the county's delegated authority in the court's order dated May 21st, 1999. And whereas on blank 2026 pursuant to MCL 324-30702, the Benzie County Board of Commissioners, with the concurrence of the Benzie County Drain Commissioner, adopted resolution number blank designating blank as its delegated authority for purposes of maintaining the normal lake level for Crystal Lake. Therefore, it is hereby ordered that until further order of this court, blank is Benzie County's delegated authority for purposes of maintaining the normal lake level for Crystal Lake. And it is further ordered that this court's December 1, 1980 order in this case is amended by substituting therein blank each and every time the County Road Commission is set forth therein. And then it would be signed by the circuit judge, the chair of this board, and the drain commissioner.
And bottom line is it's assigning it to somebody,
Correct.
and I've already suggested who that might be.
So what do we need to move forward? Because that appears to be the only legitimate solution we have, short-term solution. And with the summer months coming up, you have the historical experience to keep the levels where they're supposed to be. And I feel confident in that.
And Craig has agreed to take that responsibility on directly.
Said I could just keep below files. I transfer.
I respect the position on this. And you know, the other piece I want to add, and I'm not sure how this fits in terms of what our responsibility is, but you know, I mean, potentially the county could be facing some kind of litigation if we don't correct this. And that will come back here if that were to happen. And I have a feeling that if we act appropriately, we don't have to worry about that. But if we don't, that's exactly where we could end up.
Yes.
So even though we don't have authority, we've got the responsibility.
Yes, we hold the purse strings.
So what I'm looking for, I guess, Ron, is concurrence that I can talk with Mike and encourage him to to have him assign it to,
Right, and all we can do is agree to, probably by motion, entering into this change order for the county side of it, and then give you the discretion to sign once the drain commissioner, once and if the drain commissioner agrees to it.
that'd be it, and the intention would be to assign it to Craig.
Yes.
Kim, what is the next resolution number? We can't do that. Do we have any resolutions in here today? No. I was gonna try to slap up a motion for you.
Can you just put to be determined for the number?
Well, it looks like last meeting we adopted 2026-17, so this would be 18.
Okay. So bear with us a minute. We'll put a motion together.
I don't know if I need to address this now or not, because he's an elected official. Would hopefully like to give him as much leniency as we can as far as training and have him set this stuff up. I really feel uncomfortable that we're getting in the middle of this, but I understand the concerns from the public. I just don't want to set a precedence that every time we don't agree with what's going on, we're gonna, I just don't know his authority. Just, he had the training to get it correct. Maybe this way we'll move it forward. I don't.
Well, Gary, I can tell you that I would prefer not to get the calls. I'd love him to do what he's supposed to do.
Right.
Last fall, we made every gesture to say whatever you need in terms of educating yourself. So we did create that opportunity once before. I guess Mike will have to decide for himself, does he has the skills to organize a longer term solution or not? But if he doesn't, I'm going to tell him, we'll help you find the resources to get that done. He doesn't need to do any, with respect to the short-term solution, all he's got to do is agree.
I'd like to have some way of building into the future that we cure this. This is how I'm looking at it, giving him the opportunity. He got elected.
With you 100%.
Well, perhaps if a person is elected to the drain commissioner spot who has the capacity to do the job, that person can be named not only the drain commissioner, but the person ordered to make the calls. But right now in this situation, especially with issues of accessibility, Craig has even said he has difficulty reaching him, and that's who he gets his orders from. We've addressed that in these meetings within the year, I believe, with the drain commissioner, folks having a hard time reaching him. So I understand your concern.
He has a responsibility for his job too. So.
Right. And nobody wants to be having to make this call right now,
Right.
But we need a short-term solution.
Edie, were you able to put some kind of motion together?
Sure. So that so you can tweak it, that the Board of Commissioners adopts Resolution 2026-018, County's Delegated Authority under Part 307, and authorizes the stipulated order changing the county's delegated authority to the Deputy Drain Commissioner Craig Dixon related to inland lake level monitoring under Part 307 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Act, and gives the chair authority to work with the Drain Commissioner to establish a long-term solution to be approved by the Board of Commissioners.
So
Yeah.
does that give Mike then, would that give, if Mike were to sign that, that gives Craig the authority to make the changes as needed?
Mike and the judge.
No, but I mean, once the court has adopted it.
That is correct.
Okay. So we have a motion. If anybody's comfortable, I'd appreciate the motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Trigg will second.
Would you like to have any more conversation on this? If not, we need to do a roll call.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Trigg,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey is absent. Matthew.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thanks for being here today. Troy, also, thanks for taking the time. All right, we're at 10 to 11. Why don't we take a 5-minute break or so?
Kim, I just emailed you that motion.
base everything on.
You're unmuted.
Value.
Everybody back?
Yeah, but that would be then paying back.
All right, we'll call this back to session at, looks like 10:56.
Yep.
Very good. All right, next order of business under new business is cash handling policy and procedure. Who
Correct.
wants to deal with that?
You want, I can introduce it and Kelly can follow up with any questions if there are any. Also, at your study session, at the last study session, you looked over the cash handling policy and procedure that Kelly's office put together. The only change from then is that I put it in proper format with our other policies. And this, as you can see, really spells out the process for how we're handling these things. This was sent out. I know Kelly has spoke personally with the departments who handle most of the cash. I'm not receiving any money in my office, but I know, Tammy's office is and so forth. And so everybody's, giving the thumbs up. You also gave the thumbs up at the study session.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that the Board of Commissioners adopts the cash handling policy and related procedure and rescinds any related policies.
Thank you, Gary.
Matthew, support.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Sauer,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
Marquis absent, Matthew,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yeah.
The next item in your packet is the adoption of the L4029 for the summer tax levy. We talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about the general operating millage. This L4029, if adopted, sets the levy of the general operating millage for this summer tax bill. Tax bills are required to be sent out by July 1st, and Kelly and Michael's offices have been working on those processes with the local treasurers. So what's in front of you today is the L4029. If there's any specific questions, I know Michael and Kelly are happy to answer those questions. Otherwise, if adopted, this does set the levy at 3.1874.
Questions or comments?
This isn't the one that goes in the paper that said we increase taxes every year, is it?
So what we have discovered is that over time, because Benzie County adopts its budget in accordance with statute for budgeting, we actually didn't have to publish that in the paper the way that we had been for years.
Where are you?
And so what you're seeing today is a little bit of a different process than probably what you're used to. As you'll recall, we used to hold like a formal hearing, the truth in taxation hearing. We actually weren't required to do that. I'm not sure why it was being done. Maybe Tom did it as a fail-safe or whatever, but we're not actually required to do that process because of our budgeting process and how we adopt the General Appropriations Act each year. That actually covers that process. So this year, we're moving about with just setting the tax rate by adopting the L4029. We don't have to do those other parts that we were doing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Okay, Matthew moves that the Board of Commissioners adopts the 2026 Summer L4029, setting the fixed general operating millage rate and authorizes the chair to sign.
Triggle second.
I do have just a question or comment, Katie. This is levied December 1, correct?
July 1.
July 1.
General operating's on your summer, your special levies, or your winter tax bills.
So that column 10, after this vote takes place, that column 10 will be filled in?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, but you can't fill that in until we actually take this motion. All right, because we had a little bit of a mix-up at the Transportation Authority, and I want to make sure we're not doing the same thing here.
No, Michael will take care of that part.
Okay, so column 10 will reflect column 9.
Yes, 3.1874.
Okay, very good. If there's no other comments or questions, roll call, please.
Yes.
Janat,
Yes.
he is absent, Matthew,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloffs.
Yes.
Sauer.
Yes.
Katie?
The next item in your packet for today is the recommendation for the Central Dispatch Director position. You did hear from Miss Roy this morning. She was able to stop in quickly. Sheriff Rosa, Fire Chief Mike McGurr, Commissioner Len Matthew, and Leslie Bilby, the Deputy Administrator, sat on the interview panel and interviewed the candidates for this position, and they have recommended the offering to Deborah Roy. I have also met with her. She's been a delight to be around. Leslie did take her up to meet who she could up in the dispatch center and the folks up the hill. So many of people have met her, and we're super excited for her to come on board as long as the Board of Commissioners approves that recommendation of the subcommittee. The subcommittee is formed through the Central Dispatch Advisory Committee's bylaws, and so that committee was formed under those bylaws, and they're the ones who made the recommendation to us. As we move forward, we'll work with the Central Dispatch Advisory Committee to tweak those bylaws to ensure that a representative of HR or administration is always part of that interview process. It doesn't say that specifically, but the committee was happy to have Leslie there to assist with that process, but we'll work on memorializing that in the future as well.
Then you were on that interview committee. Anything you want to add?
No, it's just, it was very tough. We had three very well qualified folks. And in the end, I think Ms. Roy's dispatch experience and just attitude towards the job, and we had a lot of questions, and they were not easy, written by the former director, and so it's a lot of technical questions, which I was happy with her answers on that level, and her commitment to communication and working and having the ability, if something got really bad, to actually jump in and assist with the calls. To me, that was one of the many tiebreakers. I thought I had a serious comfort level with her ability to not only lead that team, but then walk the walk and join in and take the phones as well. And familiarity with the equipment and with the procedures, knowing that the county is a little different. She was in Manistee County, so a little different, but the ability to adapt on the fly too was something that I looked at as very, very important in the next director.
Is there any other commissioner that was on that interview?
Just Len, but Sheriff Rosa is back if you wanted to ask him any questions. He served on that committee as well.
Sorry.
You're okay.
We're just talking about the central dispatch director. Anything you want to add to that?
I don't know what's been said, but I did sit on the board on the interview panel. Len and Mike are there. I think Roy's a viable candidate. Brings dispatch experience that is hard to find someone that can do everything. What we're asking for, the list, checking all the boxes. But having someone that's got the dispatch experience, especially if short-handed and she needs help, actually sit in a chair, help. And probably the only candidate that. So that held a lot of weight for us. Knowing what it takes to actually do the job and know what it's.
Good. If there's no other questions or comments, I'd look for a motion.
Trigg moves that the Board of Commissioners offers the position of Central Dispatch Director to Deborah Roy, contingent upon successful background and reference check completion at a starting salary of $65,920, plus appropriate benefits funds from 261 Dispatch Fund.
Matthew seconds.
Any last comments?
Just curious when she can start.
Pretty soon. She is currently employed, so she has to give her notice for that specifically, but she intends to start, I believe it was July 6th.
Anything else? Call.
Janat,
Yes.
Markey is absent. Matthew,
Yes.
Nye,
Yes.
Roloff.
Yes.
Sauer,
Yes.
Trigg.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie, just point of clarification for me. How come you weren't in that interview?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, this is going to be a direct report to you. Why wouldn't you have been in that interview?
Well, Leslie was in that interview. I think the reason that I wasn't in the interview is I was out of the office that day specifically. But I trust Leslie from an HR standpoint to be part of those interviews.
It wasn't a function of you couldn't have been.
No,
you
no,
weren't
no,
available.
no. Yeah. And I
Okay.
did meet with Deborah before all this as well, in addition to them interviewing her. So
Just wanted to make sure. Okay. You want to introduce the next subject too, please?
yes, the next item in your packet is the agreement with the World Triathlon Corporation for the Ironman event. This is really a boilerplate agreement that Cole Stoker prepared, and we've been every year adopting to cover the Ironman event that happens in Frankfurt. What this does is it ensures that Benzie County is being made whole for the services that our staff is providing between Rebecca's office, Sheriff Rose's office, Central Dispatch. You know, they're providing a huge additional level of service to ensure that the event is successful and safe for all those that are there. And so this agreement with the Ironman folks is to ensure that we are reimbursed for a lot of those out-of-pocket costs for the additional overtime, for the use of the boats and the sheriff's vehicles and the ambulances and those sorts of things. We put on additional trucks, we put on additional staff. And so this agreement really makes sure that Benzie County is made whole for that.
Entertain a
Some
vote.
money for the trail.
Yeah. Yes, you'll get a little money for
I'll
the
make a
trail.
motion That the Board of Commissioners approves the agreement to provide 911 central dispatch, EMS services, emergency manager oversight services, road patrol services, additional central dispatch services during the Ironman 70.3 Michigan race is prepared by county legal counsel and authorizes the chair to sign.
9 seconds.
Questions or comments?
This way we get to use our new radio in a box or just our upgraded truck. I'm just curious, Martha, because we talked about an offsite capability of that. I'd ask more of a question for
Good question.
the 911 folks, but I was just curious.
You thought the same thing?
Did you? Okay.
Rebecca, will you use the radio in a box during this event?
Yeah, here.
Will you use the radio in a box for this event? Hopefully the comm van works.
All right, so that's our
Just
contingency.
another useless piece of equipment.
Don't say those things.
Sorry.
All right.
Roll call, please.
Markey is absent. Matthew?
Yes.
Nye?
Yes.
Roloff?
Yes.
Sauer?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes,
Janat?
Yes.
but it's there when we need it.
Right. We had added the Merit Network grant.
Correct. So Chris from Merit contacted me late last week asking if the county would support Merit's grant for funding. So I did provide you with the letter of intent that they had submitted, as well with a draft letter of support. Benzie County is not the applicant. Benzie County is not being asked to commit to any dollars. This is simply for support of a grant. These grant dollars are going to help roll out different programming specifically within Benzie County related to broadband digital equity and a digital navigator. So they're simply asking for support from this board to see this grant through, and the dollars would be spent specifically in Benzie County to enhance our broadband project.
Looks like you put a memo in front of us.
I did put the letter of support as well as the letter of intent from Merit Network. I also emailed that to you yesterday.
Now, I want to have plenty of time for questions. What was there
Motion? No.
Trig moves that the Board of Commissioners submit a letter of recommendation for the Benzie Digital Navigator Initiative that doesn't commit any county finances to and authorizes the chair and the administrator to sign.
we have a motion?
Oh, yeah, I'll support if that's the motion. Absolutely.
She did a great job.
That's the motion?
Yeah, that was real good. No, I saw Bob give a thumbs up. I was like, oh, thank him.
Is there any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Matthew?
Yes.
Nye?
Yes.
Roloff?
Yes.
Sauer?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Janat?
Yes.
Markey is absent.
All right. This gets us through the new business. We're on the commissioner reports. Len, we start with you today.
Okay. As I did some APs last week. Went to a buildings and grounds meeting as well, mainly focused on animal shelter related issues that we dealt with. Also, as mentioned earlier, participated in the dispatch director interview with some really good candidates, recommending Miss Roy. Attended the Thompsonville Summerfest event. Got to meet a lot of Colfax constituents. That was kind of fun. Stopped by my good friends over there at the Democrat booth when I realized all of a sudden there wasn't one for the Republicans or the Independents or anybody else there. So they pretty much had a monopoly on the crowd there. Also attended the Benzie County Sheriff's Office Junior Academy graduation. That was a lot of fun to watch those young people. And it does great things for me to know that we've got kids like that in our systems, in our schools. And I have a Board of Health meeting here in Benzie tomorrow. That's all I have.
Very good. Any questions or comments for Len? Gary?
I submitted a written report. I am gonna bother Kelly. One thing that came up at Weldon, and I did call you about this, and I talked to Kurt, was the charges for campground occupancy during the summer and trailer park taxation, I guess. I don't know how else to word this. But obviously Weldon thinks differently because they think whatever the maximum amount was, they were only going to get 50 cents and the rest was going to you. So, whatever.
It's a state statute. It's a trailer act. So any trailer park or occupied homes that your trailer is in for more than, that you're occupying for 30 days or more, $3 charge per Inland Township doing that with their big trailer park. Realizing we do have other trailer park grounds where people store their trailers and some of them stay for 3 months out of the year. Black that out townships at our treasurers meeting a couple weeks ago. That got brought up probably because of that we discussed.
So you have to stay there for at least 30 days? See, I think
It's a 30-day.
it's kind of a confusing thing because they
If
thought,
you're living in your camper, that's mobile on a campsite.
yeah,
Every month they go in and collect dollars per occupancy. We do have year-round that store their 5 months. Yes, township. That's county only gets $50.
Can you send that statute to us, Kelly? Okay, fun
It's-
meeting.
because you brought up more than what I gathered the first time I talked. This was brought up last year too.
Well, and a lot of the campgrounds do have seasonals where they move in May and they don't move out until October.
Sure.
Yeah,
I can name 2 of them.
me too.
So, but you also have a lot of people that are there for a week or 2
Right.
weeks.
You don't.
And somehow Weldon's thinking,
Yeah.
you're there on a certain date and we're gonna collect whatever the body count is at that point in time, we're gonna collect $3. So
No,
I think
It's
we
just
need
a
some,
mobile, just a mobile camper that's sitting there and
okay,
they're seasonal.
all right, thank you.
Kelly, how do you monitor that? I mean, who's tallying
The
us?
treasurer has to, the MCL says the treasurer has to monitor them. I mean. We do, like I said, Inlands sends us a quarter, and I told them, I said, you don't have to send it to us monthly, you have to collect monthly. But Inland sends us a quarterly payment. collects off of hers, and I know we have trailer park in Benzonia Township, and we
Huh?
have a trailer park out in Elmont, in Gilmore Township.
Interesting.
Collections. What's going on? Here's. Never, up until 2 years ago, when I found the statute and we started discussing it.
Beulah's are weekly rentals.
Pardon?
Beulah's are weekly rentals, so it's 30 days or more. Oh, up on, yeah, yeah, you're right, yeah,
And if they have any seasonal campers, those would count as well.
right.
So if they're there for the season.
So you're depending on the municipalities to do self-reporting.
Correct.
Okay.
Plus you're also dependent on the owners of the park
To collect.
Self-report.
to collect
Yeah.
and to verify who's there and, you know, most campers aren't staying there for a month.
Well, but campgrounds have like an established number of seasonal sites
Yep.
and then transitory sites. So they could collect based on that number of seasonal sites. And a lot of the campgrounds have multi-year waiting lists, so their seasonal sites are full.
I think almost all the campgrounds in Benzie County have that
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
Although it costs more to collect it than it does.
This was a thing either, it's not informed, and I think.
We need that 50 cents.
Do we?
Yeah.
I think
need
it's
that.
valuable that you
Have to
spoke
be
to it.
consistent. That's my biggest concern. We're gonna do this, we have to be consistent.
I do have a question. You said it was $3 per trailer. Is that $3 per trailer per year, $3 per trailer per visit, $3 per trailer per month?
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that called? Are you calling it
Mobile trailer tax.
mobile trailer tax? Okay.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Kelly, I
I'll
appreciate
pull
it.
that out. Yes.
Okay. I thought it was interesting. Anyway,
We just spent more money talking about it than they collect.
Yeah, in Michigan, mobile homes and trailer taxation depends on where the unit is located and how it is used. Yeah, $3 in licensed park. Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Gary?
I filled in for Art at the Rotary, Katie.
Thank
That
you.
Went over well. And did find a couple things out that I probably should have told you.
Good.
Maples meets at 3:00 on the fourth Thursday. So they've changed the time half a dozen times. Anyway, that was interesting. I also went to the cottages on Corning. And that was extremely well attended. I'm guessing a couple hundred people at them. So I thought that was really good. Went to the academy there where they're trying to make these kids into basic training, making them march all the way across the thing. Super. That was really nice. And there was a lot of folks here. Just brought back crappy memories.
Been in trouble?
No, somebody's yelling at me to march. Just a lot of years ago. But it was extremely well attended and you should be proud of that group of kids. They did a great job. That's it.
Any other comments for Gary? Christie?
Yeah, so I went to, and again, I'm reporting for the whole month because I missed the beginning. So I went to the Lake Township meeting and, you know, they also, approved the, Ironman route. They're looking at, a new postage thing. I don't know. They also talked about the operating millage. So they talked about, hey, if the county isn't going to put something in the mailings, they wanted to. So I think that they're appreciative that we're putting that mailing in. So well done there. I also went to the materials management, the Tri-County Materials Management Planning Committee. We basically went through the draft budget. And there are still things to be tweaked, but it's in a good spot. So we're looking next month to just finish those tweaks, and then we'll probably be ready to send it to the local units of government. I also went to the Frankfurt City Council meeting. It sounds like they are looking at getting into ambulance service. They are tossing that around. Something else that the police have their body cameras on, and he was able to kind of dislodge it and show everybody his body cam. It was kind of good, and you know, because they too got a grant for that. And they had 2 items on their agenda, and they tabled one of them. It was the shortest meeting I've ever been to in Frankfurt. So that was interesting. And then at Crystal Lake the next night, again, the looking into the ambulance service came up there as well. They are also, it looks like they're trying to build their bench in Crystal Lake. And so they have a lot of deputies, and they're looking at the township hall and how to get some desks in there for all the people working there. And yeah, so they were looking at that. Of course, they would like to get a new building, but that's not in the cards. So in the meantime, they're trying to Tetris some office furniture in. So. And of course, they also talked about cemetery. So I don't know if many of you know this, but they're kind of strict in the cemeteries in Crystal Lake Township. They don't allow plastic or silk flowers. And so that kind of came up. They had somebody who trialed it, I believe, for like 3 days. And the flowers were coming off. And so it doesn't sound like they are going to move forward with allowing plastic and silk flowers. So they're still maintaining their strict rules in the cemetery. So that's the news that is the news.
News that is.
Questions or comments for Christie?
The materials management budget or whatever, is that being funded? Are you guys getting your money from the state?
That would have to be a question that I imagine. I mean, our third party is still working for us, so I'm assuming they're getting paid.
I hope so. And the ambulance service, that kind of threw up on. City of Frankfurt wants to do that?
They're looking at it. Yeah, they talked about it in their finance committee.
How far are they gonna go?
I don't know. It sounds like it's in its infancy, that it's just conversations, but it sounds like Crystal Lake Township's been pulled in as well. I don't know much more than that.
Gary, I meet with the mayor about every 45 days or so, and I'll be meeting with her this week, and I've made a note to ask what's going on. Because it sounds like it'd be in direct competition with the county.
They talked about it a couple of years ago. Tom and I met with fire chief, his wife, I think, is the deputy fire chief, the mayor. I think that was it. And they had talked about it at that time, but at that time they wanted to only serve the city of Frankfurt and only go to Paul Oliver. And we had let them know, well, they can't do that. They can't only go to Paul Oliver, you know, if the patient demands or needs other care, and they couldn't just serve the city of Frankfurt per se. And that was the last we had heard about it, is at that time.
Yeah, we just need a better understanding of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came up in 2 maybe reports, so.
Well, you know, I have a great working relationship with Joanne and Christie. I know that you're, Katie, I know that you do too, and Christie, I'm sure you do, and we'll find out more. I'm sure there's some rationale that we're just not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Bob?
Thanks. Presentation with Candy Landon. She does great things for the Area Agency on Aging. It is a 10 county region, and the board does a lot of good stuff for the people in need. I also attended the police class presentation. I was amazed at these kids. I was amazed at the leadership that the sheriff's department brought forth. This is to get the kids involved, kind of a military script, so to speak. But these kids look like they really enjoyed what they were doing and what they were learning. And I commented to the sheriff and Deputy McKinley on how impressed I was. You know, it's gonna grow legs. It's gonna do many good things for the county. I really think so. So hats off, Sheriff. It was a fundraiser, Village of Lake Ann, last week for the Eric Florup annual run. It's a 5K. It's a chartered thing, so it counts for other activities, other runs. Eric Florup was a young man who brain cancer, service connected to burn pits. There were runners in that from state of Nevada, Ohio, Florida, Iowa, Illinois, and I'm guessing some more, but those are just the ones that registration had. I don't know who the winner was. I'm usually a quiet part of that. I tag along behind, make sure anybody that falls out has assistance. I can get them a ride back and stuff like that. So that money that's generated, it'll be anywhere between $4,000 and $6,000. It goes to Benzie County Veterans Affairs for their soldiers and sailors relief money. Other than that, that's all I got.
Questions or comments for Bob? Linda?
Yeah, thank you. I had agenda review with Art and Katie. Couple hours, we go through all the stuff that we discuss here. Really valuable meeting. Art covers it in his report as well. I attended the Village of Beulah. They approved a couple change orders and their L for the projects they have going on and their L4029. They have an effort in Beulah. It's called Support the Courts. It's their first effort is trying to replace their pickleball court. That group has raised $51,563. The bid to replace the court is about $85,000, and the village voted to cover the remaining $21,000 while still accepting donations. They're sending certified letters to their short-term rentals that are using the RV park spaces for parking. You can't do that. And to date, they are at 63 short-term rentals in the Village of Beulah. I attended Benzonia Township. They are having an issue with their water heater in the brand new building. Apparently a water softener was cut from the plan in a cost savings effort, and now the water heater is ruined and it needs to be replaced. So the cost for both a water heater and a softener is about $25,000. They're going to follow up with Spence Brothers. A lot of questions raised about, you know, the warranty on this stuff, and it's a new building and that kind of thing. So they did move forward with approving a new softener, but not the water heater at this point. They had trees planted in front of the building. That was about $3,000 of a donation and service in kind. Karen Burns, the treasurer's retirement was accepted. Her last day will be August 20th. There is a July 4th deadline for applicants to that position. That would be township treasurer, and you do have to be a resident of the township to apply for that position. And July 6th in the township, there'll be a Versity blood drive, and they will be giving out $25 gift cards to donate blood. I attended Building and Grounds. Was that just yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Was it yesterday? Okay.
So much.
We talked about the animal control camera upgrades, recommended that moving forward. We discussed the easement behind animal control. We talked about reconfiguring the building to allow for animals in quarantine to be separated from the animals that are adoptable. We talked about parking lot painting, and there's an epoxy, the ceiling needs a new epoxy put on it. Joe is going to be getting bids for that. Also had a meeting with Art and Katie to talk about the road commission bond and the lake levels that we just discussed. I attended Central Wellness. They're very excited about several new hires. The NMRE report talked about the new requirements for re-enrollment in Medicaid is requiring about 600 new employees for the state to process these. There is a grant that Central Wellness received, the ICSS Medicaid funding grant. It's going to cover the crisis response officers for 2-year study and the actual officers for Antrim, Manistee, Grand Traverse counties. Central Wellness already funds ours. There is another effort, this one sponsored by Kurt Vanderwall, for privatization in our community mental health. This is House Bill 6022. This would make screening for intake open to private insurance companies. This would change mental health code in violation of several sections of the state constitution, much like what the RFP tried to do, and they found that they couldn't do that. So by motion and resolution, the Central Wellness Board is acting to oppose that. I attended at Art's invitation, the MAC legislative meeting, which he chairs, and they had a speaker about 911 consolidation presentation. It had been functioning well for, I believe it was 3 years. 3 years now, and spoke to that, fielded a lot of questions. They also talked about data centers, and most of the board was in favor of actually visiting a data center. And at Art's suggestion, they were going to have people come in who were impacted by that, like residents that live near it, to just try and get a really unbiased assessment of what they're experiencing, which I thought was very valuable. I attended the Mills Community House Headley Reset effort. I've already spoke to how our county was represented. Very proud of that. Well done. And the effort continues. When the police academy candidates were being sworn in, Art let the sheriff and undersheriff know that we were meeting with John Roth and John Willow. It was an excellent meeting. We covered more topics than I could have expected. Meetings like that with people who represent us at that level are crucial. You know, this is how we get things done. These are our advocates at the higher level. And unless they hear from us, we need to be the squeaky wheel. And we were, and it was well received. It was a great meeting. And then the last thing that I have is the sewer feasibility study. Moving forward, I do not have the flyers yet, but my understanding is we're going to be scheduling the community information event at the Mills Community House in the evening of July 22nd. At the next meeting, I will have those here. And this will be a Wade Trim presentation of the maps and their findings and their projected costs based on assumptions, because we can't generate super accurate numbers right now because Beulah's not done with their project. And not to take the surprise out of it, but they are the best option for getting municipal sewer system down the corridor of 31. That's all I have.
Any questions or comments?
Well, I got one for you. Seems like a year or so ago, we approved re-siding the pole barn out here. Is there any movement on that?
Yeah. Well, there's not movement on it because the folks we contracted with went dark. We accepted a bid, and then they were non-responsive.
Correct.
And then the conversation veered to perhaps having a commingling of departments and sharing a new structure in a different spot. So we're looking at different possibilities for that. But yeah, we selected a company. They had submitted a bid. We went with them and then could not reach them. Didn't hear. So assumed that they had opted not to take the re-siding of the barn job.
Do that with a phone call. That's a shame. I'm really sad. I was out there the other day looking at your new lawnmower.
Your new lawnmower, our new lawnmower?
Our new lawnmower, right? Yeah.
More appropriately, it's the taxpayers.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just, the building just needs some.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to that a little more or?
That's kind of where it's at. The maintenance folks, Kyle and Ken, were working on plans going forward. The idea would be to just have one, rather large barn that would fit the needs of maintenance and the sheriff's office and emergency management and so forth. And they at the time believed that the space where the gray barn is now, that space would be adequate with some excavation. So the idea would be right there. But just adding on it. It would have to be a lot bigger to meet the needs of everyone. Because there's the tractor, there's a lawnmower, there's sheriff vehicles and snowmobiles, and there's the comm van and the CERT trailer potentially, or I guess would be. And so it would have to be a lot bigger, yes.
Good luck.
I would also ask, would it be appropriate to invite the sheriff up to just give us a quick nutshell of that academy and what those kids do to graduate? Just because we couldn't attend, I'm very interested to know what that's all about. If that would be all right.
Sure. So much positive.
Well, I saw the
stuff.
pictures.
Yeah, so first ever academy, youth academy.
Oh.
We didn't think it was gonna get off the ground at first, put the word out, had like the applicants. Then Deputy McKinley and others talked, final push, hey, we've either gotta get more or things dead in the water. With that, we got 10 applicants. So it was a go, all systems go. Basically, it was 8 AM to 4 PM at the sheriff's office, held the EOC training room, the new downstairs, where they actually held the classes. But yeah, they learned discipline. At the end of the day, we did PT a little bit and nothing crazy, but just getting them into that routine. But throughout the day, we had various topics, range from EMS, fire stuff, I believe, National Park Service, DNR, MS. Many trainers in our agency touched on topics, effective work, evidence. Should have brought my list.
CPR, prosecutor.
Prosecutor spoke, yes. We brought them down to court, this area, the government center. They learned how to march everywhere they went.
Loved it.
It was good.
Watched it out my window.
Including in here, our final culmination in here, in this room. Every seat was filled. We had pulled seats out of the back. There were people standing all the way around on the wall. So it was crazy how many people showed up for that part of it. Family, friends, some of you folks. Kelly was here. Well, a lot of people that were working, came in and it was very, very brief, but everyone got at the completion of it. Provided them with a certificate. I gave them a challenge coin that we recently had done, sheriff's office. So, there were 2 special awards given for those that made the most improvement throughout the week. And a class leader type of thing, an outstanding person, kind of outstanding from the onset, from the beginning all the way through. So, yeah, a lot of good things happened, and we got to touch on a lot of different topics, although they weren't long and drawn out boring. We kept them moving. They were every hour, every half hour, there was someone else in there doing a presentation, talking about something different. It kept their interest very much.
So it was a full week?
It was a full week, yes.
Wow.
Monday through Friday, it was 8 AM to 4.
Wow.
And lined up at the flagpole. They got rides. A couple of them actually were able to drive. But got dropped off, lined up at the flagpole and waited for trucks every morning.
What was the age group, Sheriff?
So it ranged from, I think, 13 to 17, maybe. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, quite a wide range.
impressive.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's the very first time we've ever done this. We learned some things to improve on. We know what we did right. We know what we did, what can be done, and forward. I think we'll have more outpouring when kids go back and say, should have been there. This was, once the word gets out, I think next year we'll actually have to select instead of,
Wow.
we were just happy to get what we had, but it's a slow start. I don't know why. If we're able to pull it off, I think next year we'll have even more out for youth interest.
I need a bigger room.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may have. But that's it in a nutshell.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
You. Anything else, Ron? And I appreciate the fact that you met with John Roth and myself, John Willow. There was John is on the Appropriations Committee. He had some news regarding Beulah. Is that something you want to share?
Oh, I just, Beulah last year was a candidate for, I believe, a $6 million appropriation, which got cut in the last hour. And they have broadened their use of their ask and are hoping for, I believe, a $5 million appropriation this year. And it is on John's list of options to be favored. And I advocated for the village as their representative. And so far it sounds promising, but until we get the word that the process is done, but that was good news.
Yeah, it was. And he left you with the impression that this was, if not his number one ask, it's his top two ask.
Yes, a priority.
And if you've ever sat with Rhonda in these kind of things, she is not afraid to advocate for her constituents. So it's great to have you there. If there's nothing else, you had my report in advance, but there are some things I just want to highlight. At the Northern Michigan Community Action Agency in Benzie County, they have a free tax filing system program. Over 700 Benzie County residents benefited from that. And that's done primarily over at Senior Resources in Bacon. I'm glad to see that our county is getting that kind of attention. As you know, there's a new facility that they acquired at the corner of Indian Hill and 31, and they continue to make progress in opening that up. And at some point in time, the executive director or senior staff will come in and address this group and let you know what's actually happening there. There's a new program that's being funded that will support homeowners who qualify for assistance in delinquent taxes. Kelly and I have spoken about this. I've given her a contact for that, and hopefully you'll be able to follow through and see how that can work for our community. Kind of like the first one in is what I'd like to see. So, because once the money's gone, of course, it's gone. And I do, just to add to the things about talking with Representative Roth, we got a lot of attention from him. We spent a couple of hours. We did update him on the what's happening at the county level. A lot of discussion regarding economic development. The bottom line for this that I've learned over the 30 years nearly that I've been here is if we don't help ourselves, nobody else is going to help us. And we're trying to demonstrate to the world that we are helping ourselves. Things that I see in emergency services, that I see in public safety, that I see economic development, et cetera, et cetera. It's always a great story to be able to share with people. We talked about additional revenue streams. I think we're all tired of putting it on the back of the taxpayer. And one of the things that we emphasize that John left me with the impression he was supportive is some kind of county bed tax. And there's different ways you can approach this. This is not the first time he and I have talked about it. But right now, the county, the Tourism Bureau out of Traverse City collects a 5% bed tax. There is some reason to believe that the legislator could say, look at 2% of that goes to the county for public services and 3% stays with tourism. That's one avenue. Another avenue is that right now, if you're of a community of a certain size, the county can collect a bed tax for public services. But it's like Grand Rapids and larger. I've asked, and he's pursuing, including smaller communities, because the irony is that it's the smaller communities that need it. You know, I mean, our population swells by 3 times for several weeks a year, yet we have the least amount of revenue to support that. So the suggestions that are out there, he leaves me with the impression he's supportive. Do you agree?
Yes.
And, you know, we'll keep working with him on that. Those are things that happen easily. We did talk to him about the retroactive tax foreclosures and the fact that the state should help backstop some of that. He apparently wasn't aware that we're already doing some payouts, right? So that approximately 250,000 that we approved at a recent meeting, that wasn't part of this.
Yes. Yes, that is part of it. My understanding is talking county treasurers, things that we go to. That 25 million set aside for us budget. That is
Yeah, well, we'd like them to release that money.
just sent a letter or this went out like 10 days ago. Oh, yeah. Like, I haven't heard back from him, but I did send him.
Well, we did want to emphasize with him, we're aware of it, and he said, yes, I'm supportive of it, because they may have talked about allocating the money, but now we actually need them to allocate it, so. So anyway, that we followed up on that. We discussed revenue sharing, and he leaves us with the impression that he's supportive about revenue sharing at a consistent level. We get revenue sharing now, but it's kind of unpredictable, right, Katie? Mm-hmm. And there's some language going through the legislature that would say, look, here's the formula. It's going to be predictable for you. We'd like to see him pursue that in his capacity. And I did talk to him after the fact about seasonal workforce housing. I'm working with a group right now, and I'm sorry I can't go into a lot of detail, but there is a group that's a legitimate group that's interested in doing something to do a build out for workforce housing. And it's going to require some help from the state, but it's also a lot of philanthropic dollars too. So hopefully it's going to take a year or two to put together. And I'm going to leave it at that unless there's some questions. Katie?
I don't have a lot to add to what we've already talked about all morning, but I will, a quick update on recycling in Benzonia. Dave Schaefer does have a couple of leads that we're working through right now. One would be more temporary, one would be more long-term. It will take dollars to invest into both sites. So there would be a request coming forward if we were to choose either one. But we do have 2 leads, and we're hopeful we'll have something in line here, hopefully by the next meeting, which would be July 14th. Dave's been working on that, and it's looking good for us. So exciting news there. I have been meeting in construction meetings for the Point Betsy project. As you know, we didn't have all of the funding specifically lined up on the time we were hoping to roll out this process. We are still moving forward with the project, but in a phased approach. As you know, Walton was the contractor for both Point Betsy and the Crystal Lake Outlet project. So we're working through logistics with Walton as far as timing for starting the different things. Easements are in place with the property owners over there by Point Betsy to do some staging specifically of items to do that project. And we're working through some additional rock issues, working through with the quarry on the rock. So we can't just get any old rock. They have to be, of a certain material and density and, all these things. They're working with some quarries on that. One quarry in Wisconsin specifically. There was another one in Alpena. So we're trying to find the best rock for the project specifically. But the idea is to get started no matter what, do it in a phased approach. If for some reason we don't have the maximum amount of dollars, the idea would be to continue to raise donations while we're working through that first season or first phase of the project. The thought of the committee is that if the community sees the work, maybe they'd be more apt to continue to give to that project as well. And just as a reminder, this Friday is our staff potluck. If the Board of Commissioners would like to attend that, that is Friday from 11:30 to 1. And we typically do that up behind the sheriff's office there in that small parking area. So if anyone would like to join the potluck with staff on Friday, you're more than welcome to join us all. It's going to be a great time this year. Everything else we talked about during this meeting. So
Questions or comments for Katie?
I do have a
Yep.
question. Where are we on the broadband?
like as far as like expansion itself or digital equity or both?
Yeah, I guess I now that I'm not on the EDC, I don't know much.
Yeah, so broadband has really been out of our hands for now. Cherryland is still working through the expansion from their end with the different funding sources they've received. We're still working through the Bead Bob situation, identifying, properties that are unserved or underserved or will be served by something other than broadband or fiber specifically. So still identifying those specific properties because we know it's just a handful and they're kind of sporadic. So trying to make sense of all that through that process specifically. As far as the equity and navigator piece of it, you supported a grant today. We do have a fellow here, John Milkey, who is working specifically in Benzie County out of the Grow Benzie office and working through that digital navigator, digital equity piece of it. Merit Network was able to obtain another grant, which then paid for the fellows. And we were lucky enough to have Mr. Milkey assigned specifically to Benzie County. So 99% of his work is in Benzie County. And they're trying to get additional grants to create the navigator, to create programming, to create classes and those sorts of things. So it's kind of from a county perspective, it's pretty quiet right now from a broadband because, the work's being done with the project that was laid out.
Okay, thank you.
I would just add to that. There are things going on.
Yeah.
It's just not much new to report. With the new administration, they went from beads to Bob.
Yeah.
Not sure what the acronym is for.
Bob is benefit of the bargain.
And what has changed with the administration is that previous administration was all about fiber.
Mm-hmm.
The new administration is saying, we think satellite's a solution too.
Benefit of the bargain.
So there's, they're kind of managing through that now too. As we've been told, the problem with satellite, particularly here, is that, you people that don't have fiber have a lot of trees on their property. So it's hard for them to get satellite, but
yes,
we do get reports, and it was Mitch Shapiro, who we hired, if you'll remember, which has probably now been 4 years ago, I'll bet.
Been quite a few years.
He's still working for us.
Yeah.
All right. Just not a whole lot to report because, as Katie's already said, it's kind of status quo at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Katie, can you update us on animal control?
Sure. So actually Joe Duncan is hung out in the meeting. So this is his first full meeting. So I'll have him come up to the podium as well. But animal control is going well. Joe is really getting his feet wet in really all the facets of animal control in the shelter. We've got great community feedback related to utilizing Pet Finder to try to adopt the animals out up there, as well as social media again. We've been able to work with neighboring counties to bring animals in. So we have quite a few animals in the shelter that are looking for their forever home. One in particular is named Pumpkin, and she needs to go because she's ruining the turf in the kennels. So if someone would like to adopt Pumpkin, she's a very sweet dog. She just likes to dig. We are working through a lot of that. Joe's also working through some of the infrastructure needs up there. Sounds like we do have another inspection coming up rather soon. And so we need to work through some of the issues when it comes to the ceiling track, having permeable surfaces and so forth. Anything else you want to add, Joe? Part-time shelter attendant.
No, we kind of. We will be adding, a part-time shelter attendant. We've had a couple apply for the full-time animal control officer position. So interviews. As far as the shelter, I went through, looked at some stuff that needs to be updated per MDART. We had some adoptions last week, some kittens, had great feedback. Came in to see them. They're now in their forever home. We're working on getting some of the dogs adopted out. So, other than that, everything.
We are working too with a local business in the village of Beulah right now to host a community event to make a dog a lucky dog. And so more will come on that event as well.
Is there questions for Joe? Please.
Yes, I do. So I noticed that again, that there was a report in the packet today, and I really appreciate that. And I was just wondering, do you intend in the future, I don't know, either you or the animal control officers to kind of present that to us? Okay, very good.
It's just the reports from the shelter love and then just kind of the monthly, what you've taken in and what you've transferred out and such. That's all that's in there.
Well, very good. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. And welcome aboard.
Any other comments or questions? Joe, before you get away. So I know that you've been made aware of the recent history there. So we are going to be paying more. It's going to have the spotlight for you for a while. Okay. Some of the issues that were brought to our attention has a lot to do with education, quite frankly. But there was a real concern about euthanasia. I noticed in your report, looks like some animals had to be put down.
There was one, it was a owner requested youth. A dog. I was aggressive towards the hated. Kill the dog. Safe dog. The process, they signed all the paperwork. To be put down.
Why didn't they take it to the vet and have that done themselves?
So we have it in our policy that is supposed to happen. My shelter staff talked with them. I guess in the past, we have done where they can surrender the dog to us and we can take youth. I looked at a policy. It does it in the policy.
Okay.
We talked through that process. It sounds like it's been done both ways in the past. The policy does state it's the responsibility of the owner, but we recognize too that if if there's an unsafe situation, we would work with those owners to, surrender and euthanize those animals with the vet charging the owner at the end of the day. But if there was an unsafe situation, we're not going to say, well, you take it to the vet. If we need to help contain that animal, that's what we would do.
I agree with all those things, and obviously the cost of doing it is relevant to me also.
Mm-hmm.
But it shows up in our report when we do the euthanizing.
It does. It does.
So right away we got to explain all of that.
Yeah.
And yet you just described to me pretty thoroughly the process that they sign documents and
they do.
But you see, people reading your report don't know that. And I'm not on social media. Kind of proud of that, by the way. There's others that may say, Art, you're a little bit of a dinosaur. But with having said that, We are getting a lot of bad press on social media. How are we doing today?
It's been pretty positive.
Yeah, I mean, it goes up and down. I will call and there's, hey, they might post some. But right now I think the positive coming back. I've had a lot of people come into the shelter just to meet me every conversation.
Good.
My biggest thing is like talking with people and they have questions.
I know you're only 30 days in, but,
Not even hardly.
what's that?
Not even hardly.
Yeah, okay, all right. So I'll stop there, okay?
I will say we did have 153 visitors of the shelter just in the month of May. So that's a lot of folks coming into the shelter.
And we still have a good stream of volunteers?
Yes.
All right, we look forward to more updates. Katie, anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, so you have correspondence in your file, in your packet. There was nothing we had to address with that. I see it's from Central Wellness. Central Wellness.
So that is simply the, as you recall, you gave them opioid dollars, and that's just another report that they've provided. They've provided a couple of these now, just explaining the impact of those dollars.
Very good. So I'll open it up to the last public comment period. We'll close that and look for an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
At 12:02, we have support. Len supports. Anybody opposed?